with this crazy ice storm you and I were affected by. How many days without power were you guys over there?
Hey, 3 or 4 days. My mother, 3 days, if I'm not mistaken, 4 days, something like that. Most of us in Valleyfield, that's what was the time. I was lucky, man. The electricity did not go down, but the internet went down. I couldn't stream it either way.
Right.
But the flashing lights, man, you know how lights, they're not supposed to flash. Like they either go on fully and go off. They can flash by going on fully and going off. Mine was like a dimmer.
Like a brownout.
Yeah, it would come down and then it would flicker low, like we're in the 1800s, and it would go back up, and the internet goes off right away. You know, and not the internet, but the computer. I couldn't even work on the computer because it kept going on and off.
Yeah.
But branches were falling in the yard. It took an hour. The first rain, I didn't even know it was freezing rain until I heard, you know. And then I look outside and I said, "Oh crap!" And then I heard transformers buzzing. Man, just it was like you could hear something, you know.
We had a transformer bust just across the street from us. Also, it's like a huge firework kind of display. It was absolutely cool. I'm just showing some pictures here from.
Absolutely, and you're in Ottawa, right? You're in Ottawa, right?
So yeah, just east. Yeah.
Look how far it went. Quebec, all the way down to Quebec and past Ottawa. So
yeah, exactly.
Even fires, they're very dangerous.
Yeah. All in all, we were, I believe, 5 days, maybe 6, because it came back on, but then they had to come back do another repair. So that was the power. I have a generator, so I wasn't too stuck. But the issue was the internet. I have wireless internet, and so the tower to where I connect to, even though I had power with my generator, their tower was offline for a while. And then when they came back up, I tried to do a show. And I'm like, okay, I can patch it through. I ran extension cords and all that. And then I ran a show, but I was cutting out every 2 minutes. Apparently, so they came back to look at my tower because I have a 60-foot DMX tower to connect.
Right.
And apparently I got a lightning strike.
Yes.
And so it burnt some of the components and they were kind of like wonky. So they had to come back twice to repair some gear.
That's scary, man. That's almost like an attack. Like in reality, you know, the EMP attacks come from the sun, magnetic pulse, electromagnetic pulse. When you look, I can't stop thinking of that. You know, they're talking about the blackouts, eventually rolling blackouts. I think that could be very
3 days of darkness.
Yeah, during Easter.
Yeah.
Let us add. Don't forget, I had problems last Christmas.
Yeah,
Christmas, Easter. It's weird that the holidays, you know, are having problems.
That's just a conspiracy nonsense, Bruce.
I know.
But everybody was telling me that too. It's like, oh, JC, they're trying to prevent you from going live. I'm like, oh, fuck, maybe. I mean, it's just me, but it's half a million Quebecers.
When I started the show, in the details, you know, we have the description of what the channel consists of, right? In the about section. Yeah. And I had put, I'm a conspiracy theorist. At the beginning, that's all I put because that's what they labeled me. Yeah. Oh, you're a conspiracy. Well, they were right all along, eh? Because now everything's coming out. All these big conspiracies back in the day, it's fact now. It's literally.
Dude, we're batting 1,000 on most of this shit. And the stuff that we're not right on, it's not because we're not right. We're just a little bit too early.
Exactly.
The fact checkers haven't caught up to the reality yet, but they will.
Exactly. Japan going to the moon April 15th, man. Tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, with a spacecraft to land on the moon. So that's always interesting. Wonder what's going to happen. They say it's an Atlas crater, Mare Frigaris. So can we see that crater? I think we can see a part of it. So if so, maybe we'll get this.
We'll be able to catch it. Could you imagine if you could catch that live? That would be cool.
Well, yeah, and it comes down to the size. Like if they send up a pocket-sized thing up there, a drone or something, we'll never see it. Like people ask me if I see the flag. I would be a liar if I told people I could see the flag on the surface. Because even if a telescope sees billions, they see billions of miles and light years away. Yeah. And it's proven when you look at a telescope, even if the star is very small, if it's millions of light years away, you can still see it. So, you know, but a telescope seeing the surface of the moon.
Let me ask you on that. Is it just a question of improving the telescope capabilities, or is it also a question of perhaps removing the obfuscating layers of smoke, debris, chemtrails here on the planet, perhaps also on the moon, preventing us from seeing stuff? What would you need to be able to have a bigger, clearer picture of the surface?
I could almost answer all of the above because you touched a lot of points. In reality, that's what we're doing. We're looking through layers, and the layers are obfuscating the surface, and the surface is so refractive because when the sunlight goes into that layer of clouds, you can't see nothing. Even here, filming a plane through the clouds, I'm not going to be able to do it. It's only 30,000 feet away. It's the same thing. So I believe that there's a possibility for us to see a lot more, but probably would be impossible to completely be able to see like the rocks on the surface, you know, the shadows on the ground, like little shadows. Like we see things in a big way. Bruce saw a structure once in his videos, yes, but the structure is ginormous. It's not the size of it's like many miles wide, so we can see them, you know. And the small structures, well, they look like, well, people say craters, people say they're domes, because an object from far away is always in a pill form or a sphere. But once you start zooming up on those craters that look perfectly like domes, I was able to prove that they're not all domes. Like, the closer you get, the less round they are, the more you can see its real shape. So when you see a square on the surface there, it's because it's a real square, and it's not. 90-degree angles and squares don't form in nature. On a butterfly's wing, yes. And this is why I get a lot of fighting with people, and I wasn't understanding myself when people said, yes, it's true, Bruce, you can see circles and triangles all in nature. It is not true. It's in nature on a butterfly's back, yes, but not growing with plant or vegetation. A very good example here. I mean, it remains, that's Bianchini crater. Sinus iridum, the apple bite, is in the green bottom left, and the U starts. So all those objects that you see there, hey, Jean-Claude, I believe we could see them very well, that they're connected and even have straight angular shapes, like angles like squares and whatnot. There's no two ways about it. Yeah. And you can also notice, even here is why I showed it in a 45-degree angle. Do you notice a little bit of the elevation? In other words, say that bridge-like object right in the center, the big one, it looks like it's, yeah, I can safely say it looks a little higher, a lot higher than the one to the left going downwards. And you even see at the end of that bridge-like object, the white part at the left, to connect, it goes downwards. Yeah, the other part of it, that white bridge there, like the one in the center. Yeah, you go to the left side of it, and you can see the other side of it. You can see it going down the other end of the bridge. You see it veering downwards. The one close to the crater, right there. Yeah, you see how it veers down? Well, every single piece, look at all these pieces here. They are all connected. They all have feet holding them up, or connections where it goes and reaches the other part. So they're all connected, showing us that it could be a setup, a constructed object, and it's not just pixelation. See, in the bottom left, in the green there, where my finger is, I would not even but like to the left of my finger where it's green, if there's pixelation and bumps there, I'm not going to tell them there's buildings on the surface. I'm using the bigger pieces. A lot of people will say, look, there's buildings on the moon, and it is pixelation, because it's hard not to pixelate these images. That's why you can't go too close to it. For what we see there is a city setup, but those cities are always lined up. But look, city-like, visually looks like it, because we have no confirmation. I have no confirmation that they're building up there either. But I know for a fact that those are not natural. I've spoken to geologists, literally, I'm not just making that up. Archaeologists too, one or two of them, and they said there's just no way. And they're not asked those questions because they wouldn't want to have to answer that on live television to geologists and say, listen, it's a friggin' city. Absolutely. Oh, the audio.
Sorry, I was muted there. You had an echo. You remember that guy, an expert in demolition, right after that specific date, somewhere in 2001, without naming the exact date, he was shown a building falling down in free fall. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's controlled demolition. Where is that? Yeah, and then he was told where it was. I'm like, oh, fuck. I didn't want to comment that on mainstream news, right?
Exactly. And it was. And you see the first building go down. They say, oh, my God, it's falling. It didn't fall. It free fell. It literally free fell. And dug a hole like 1,000 feet in the ground or something like that. So,
so I could just imagine these poor experts not wanting to touch this with a 10-foot pole. But I mean, at some point, Bruce, all of this is coming out anyways, and people have to get with the program. I mean, I just started this new war correspondent show on Rumble. Super successful. We're getting 250,000 views on this. We're looking at we can't get it too much into it here on YouTube, but we're looking at the situation that is happening now. I guess we could say the attack on humanity, and how that's translating now into all of these events that are before our eyes. And when you start putting all these dots together, you get a bigger picture. So guys, if you haven't seen this episode, please do go check it out. It's really interesting. It's putting a lot in perspective for us. Specifically, the last 2 weeks, we talked about the subversion tactics and how we're all being fooled by mainstream media, by the censorship and all that. And once you recognize the tactics that are being used to fool you, you can kind of step away from it. And
you really see it. You really see it. I was able to sit back and know that I see the diversity campaigns, which diversity, yes, good. Diversity campaign, no good.
Right.
It's one race, without naming any color, one race accused another race of being slave owners, and then they got control, but now they're going to make the other race slaves. So it's just like a bunch of children, when we should all be in equality, agreeing that we're all the same and accept our differences. It's easy. When you believe it and you're not racist, it really is easy.
What was even more interesting was this video from this KGB defector, and he was talking about subversion tactics and how it's being used against the population. And he went as far as to say that there's 4 stages of this subversion tactic. Right. And one is Bezmenov is his name. He went, and in the 2 first stages, he talked about how at a certain point, the population is so demoralized and destabilized that even presented with real facts, they cannot make a decision for their highest good anymore. They're so completely lost and disoriented until they get hit in the butt with the jackboot, quote unquote. That's what
because people in general are good. It's not this domestic terrorist that everyone's saying. People are good. In America, they said, "Oh, watch what they do with their guns. They're gonna when Biden comes in." No, they're still sitting, being abused, being ridiculed. They're trying to take their guns away, and they're still just sitting. But it's the government. The goal is to make. Remember when that was the goal. Peaceful protest only peaceful protest. Remember the Canadians in Ottawa, peaceful. It was okay, but then I started understanding. Well, they want peaceful. They want soumise. They want someone who's just going to let himself be abused.
A compliant and docile electorate, like Hillary Clinton said to the World Economic Forum a couple of years ago.
Yeah, they even tell us that they're not shy in telling us what they think of us.
Well, think about this though. There's the push for peaceful protest, and then a couple of years ago, remember how we were all cordoned off in the back somewhere into the free protest zones? Not in front of the building, but somewhere in the back where the trash cans are. You can protest over there in that little corner.
They lock off the area. They put up four cones on the streets, and they let us protest.
Yeah, you can protest over there. Like what?
Get mad at the government. Where's the media? Oh, no time. The media did not go there.
You can protest over there as long as nobody sees you. That's fine.
Right.
And on top of that, now what's more, and we have to watch the language here. What's even more ironic is, of course, you and I talked about this trucker convoy, freedom convoy last year. I was reporting on the grounds and all that. Yeah. And of course, that was bad. But just now, maybe today or tomorrow, I have to go check the mainstream news. But here, the federal employees unions are about to strike in the biggest way, I think, since the 90s. Yeah. That's okay that the federal workers, those guys are allowed to strike in front of Parliament.
Yeah. But that's where it has to come from, though. Like agree, people have to agree to agree, not agree to disagree, but agree with Bruce when it comes to they want to have control over us, and they're inventing laws, and they're making us believe certain things. When they came out with a certain group that was called Certain Lives Matter, well, all lives matter, and I was the first when I saw that Black Lives Matter. I said, "Wow, yep, finally, awesome." No privileged people, but then they came out with the privilege thing. You know what privilege means to me? If you didn't get beat up or raped when you were growing up, and you had food on your table, and you were able to not be beaten and have your own room, is it privilege though? No. And some, they're saying that people are privileged. I believe some people can be privileged, but it's because of their luck or the way they're raised. And would I get mad at somebody for making more money than me? No, it's so stupid. He's no fair. He gets a castle and I don't get a castle. That's what
I think you and I should probably do a political podcast.
It would be amazing.
We'd have a lot of fun, but we'd have to move it to the Rumble Show because we get in trouble here on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely.
We still have serious work to do here on YouTube. Speaking of that, going back to this Rumble thing here, I just wanted to share this with the audience members. So yes, if you haven't seen already the War Correspondent Show, really, really cool stuff. Please do check it out. But I'm sub-franchising this show now into this new platform, new segment, I guess it's going to be called Alien Affairs Attaché. So here again, in the context of the world against humans, well, I'm just going to mute you, Bruce. There's a little bit of an echo. There you go. In the context of the war against humans, I want to bring in the ufologists, the book authors, the researchers, the experiencers, but again, with the focus of what perhaps those agendas might have been in the past, what the agendas are currently, and how that ties into what we're seeing today, as above, so below, as they say. So it'll be interesting to bring that extra point of view into this war correspondent reporting. So anyways, check that out. Maybe next week, the week after, I'll be starting with that second franchise slow. And somebody says, Don, do you sleep? No. That's what Sarah said today. Fuck, you're always working. I'm like, I know, we're at work.
If you notice there's still an echo, let me know. Jean-Claude, I don't hear it.
Maybe bring your speaker volume down just a tad on your computer.
I'd hardly hear you anymore. I'm almost off.
That's okay.
Is that better? Does it test?
I think that's good. Tap your mic. Oh yeah, okay, we're good. Okay, all right. So Don, yes, I'll sleep when the war is over. There you go.
Yeah.
That says yes, JC. Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. Okay, I like this one, JC War Correspondence. Green. Yeah, I got a green T-shirt on that. It's a departure from my black look. And today too, I'm wearing my Galactic Warrior T-shirt. Julie made that for me. We're probably gonna put that on a swag shop at some point.
For sure.
Okay, Bruce, let's get into some of the crazy stuff this week. This came out, I don't know, a month or two ago. You and I think kind of touched on it on the last show, but we ran out of time.
Yeah, the news was just coming in.
Right.
We were just starting to talk about that.
I wanted to ask you, maybe in retrospect now, like these guys were talking about tiny probes, like watching us with tiny probes or anything. Have you caught anything either in the past or even recently that could suggest that there's intelligent probes being or coming towards Earth to investigate and then reporting back someplace else? Like, share with the audience members your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. I've seen a UFO appear out of nowhere. It's the one that you saw. At one point, we fell upon that. We brushed upon it. It's the UFO that went down to the house. That appeared out of nowhere. And it appeared at about the height of a small plane. And a big circle opened up. Like I saw it there. And it was red blood. It was just liquid coming in. And when it came in, that liquid formed itself into a ball with rays. I mean, I've seen that, and just the small lights. And I say small lights, like it's very hard for me to notice. I've never told people how big the lights are that I film in the sky. I say they're closer, they're far, because if it's near the sun, it's giant. If it's close to me in the sky, it just looks like a big ass basketball. You know, it doesn't look like anything else. But I've seen some touch the surface and leave the surface now here. But as for, and I'm sure this is what you're getting to, could a mothership, in theory, I do believe this, that it's a good theory at least. Motherships, if they do exist, and I don't see why they would not, maybe not human, maybe so, but maybe alien, to watch over us, they would have their ways of coming to the surface. And it would obviously not be like in the film where a big ship's going to hover over a city. They would most likely send down probes at a distance, maybe, I don't know, 80,000 kilometers, 100,000 kilometers over Earth, and just send down probes. I do believe that. I believe that 100%.
It's the same concept in our military with the Marine recons. You don't send the whole battalion to go check out an area. You send a smaller tactical force.
Right. They even do it on their boats. Even on their boats. You got the big ship, the big Navy ship, or the Coast Guard even goes to see another ship, and you got the little dinghy or the smaller boat that goes out with the guys with the arms. That's, you know, but for sure, those lights, there's still speculation that it could be China or Russia. They've never confirmed that it wasn't, you know, and I'm really curious about that, whether it be alien or not. And in reality, they came up in a really sneaky way of making us sort of fight over that. Wonders, oh, it's aliens, oh, it's humans. And I don't care. There's still lights. There's still lights that are there that are not accounted for.
When we last spoke, also, I think the story had just broke again that there was leaks at the Pentagon, and you and I were talking about, maybe this is connected to 9/11, or maybe it's connected to what eventually could be real. And I say real, quote unquote, here, disclosure. Of course, the Pentagon was out in the last couple of years with the Tic Tac videos and all that, and everybody was completely not impressed with the resolution and qualities of those videos compared to what they must have maybe in 8K.
Right, because they're ridiculous, eh? I would be embarrassed as the Navy to show that, because people said it right away, Bruce. It was worse than your $400 infrared. Right. I mean, come on there. Come on. It's ridiculous.
We'll talk about ridiculous here too. Now, they just arrested this little private guy here.
Yeah, and he's National Guard, right? National Guard. It turned out that it was a National Guard
airman, National Guard airman, I believe it was. Yeah. So just a very low level guy with no access. I asked Lieutenant Colonel retired Mr. Bosi yesterday on the show, and he says, "Come on, that's ridiculous. These guys don't have access to anything." So what they're really trying to cover up here is something else, and that's what we need to figure out, and where this eventually leads. Some are presuming that it had something to do with also leaked documents pertaining to Ukraine, and the fact that, you know, maybe we're tracking where all this money is going, and that there's
and then we find out how many people have access to classified material. Oh my God, hundreds of thousands of people are like, you know, national security. But don't show this to anyone. Email,
including Hunter Biden, but you and I can't talk about that here.
No, exactly.
Oh fuck,
he's looking healthy though. He's looking good.
Yeah, he's looking good. Let me bring up something. Again, I know you probably haven't had a chance to actually analyze this in any meaningful way, but I just wanted to have your thoughts on this. I saw this the other day. I spoke about it on one of our shows. This was televised on TV. Okay, yes, this was televised. U.S. Masters Golf Tournament. The commentator over the audio said, "Well, that's an interesting cloud." And so this doesn't look like a cloud, of course. Now, in some cases, you could say it's a lens flare. Now, with video, when you're moving the camera, typically you would see a transition in the lens flare if it was in fact a lens flare. Now, if it was, as somebody suggested in my show the other day, oh, maybe that's just bird poop on the camera lens, well, that would have remained stationary as the video camera moved from left to right, which was not the case.
Yeah.
When you look at the sky, different filters that you're using, do you sometimes pick up these orbs, one? And two, what do you make of this one?
Never in my life have I ever saw a cloud here that even looked even anywhere near a ship, except for what people consider cloud ships. Sometimes I see a cloud and it's just so perfect. You go, damn, if that was a ship, no one would see it. But you know what I like about this? We can bring up this as a question, is that when I would expect somebody to say, I have a big mothership in the sky and I'm going to send you the image. If that mothership is not sideways like that, I wouldn't believe them, because there's no up or down in space. So that thing is over Earth. Like, example, if it's real, it's literally over Earth, just like boom. And we're with gravity like this, like sideways on the Earth, looking up and looking at this thing that looks like it's standing up. That is probably how we'd see a mothership approaching or descending close to Earth. And it could be that would be the distance where it would stick around. It does look like it's physical. It doesn't really, I get it. It could be a patch, but even on the left, it does not look like a patch. It looks like some mysterious cloud, at least a cloud. But it's very interesting. There are the clouds, deliberately lenticular clouds that they mentioned. Lenticular clouds often resemble UFOs, but it's also an excuse. Like, I wouldn't just look up and say, oh, it's a lenticular cloud. Oh, it's a lenticular cloud. Like, maybe some of those clouds are not, like those for me remain very interesting.
One of our viewers sent us this the other day during the live show. I think it was on Monday. Peggy, I think it was. And I've captured a few of these in New Mexico myself in the desert. And some of them, I'm like, oh wow, they were really cool looking clouds. And some of them gave me for lack of better words, the EBGBs. Like
Yeah,
it felt like there was something behind it. That's all I can say.
of course. If
Now,
that could be a ship, a very large, high ship that
mhm,
has a cloud and the lines on it, where those lines, like we're talking theory here, but it's not exaggerated. I mean,
yeah.
how hard could it be to create, vapors coming out of an object so we can't see it? Of course, with the vapors, it's just a perfect thing, and nobody can reach them. It's not like someone's going to go touch it and say, "Ah, it's a ship," you know.
Mhm.
So they can really do it on purpose. I
Let,
tend to
let me
think,
ask you. Let
sure.
me ask you your opinion. I forget the exact term, and maybe you know this. Uh, I think I heard this as a kid. Let me just mute you again here, just like there's an echo. As a kid, I kind of heard this story. I don't remember where either it was Christopher Columbus or one of the Spaniard fleets as they came into North America. The first original tribes that saw the ships coming across the water, of course, had no pretext or context for what they were looking at, and they couldn't make heads or tails of the ships, right? And in their mind had a process to reformulate what they were seeing because they had no contextual reference for what they were seeing. Is so whatever that concept is, and if you have the term for it, I'll let you speak on it. Is it possible that that's what we're looking at here too for humans? Yes, we've been shown ships and ET craft, alien craft on TV, so we have that context. But what if there's another contextual reference for alien craft that none of our human minds have ever perceived before? And when we're looking at these clouds, our brains are trying to formulate here a context for us to interpret what we're seeing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely, absolutely. I know what you're talking about. And when I finish talking, I'll press on mute. I'm sorry that you have that problem with my echoing. Yeah, listen, absolutely. I do. I agree with you 100%. And a perfect example is back in Egyptian times, if it's real, there was a UFO sighting where people depicted it as being like a teacup, because back in those days they didn't have internets, didn't have square cars, or even, so they went with what they knew and could understand. So that's an incredible example where they say that. So yes, if UFOs are strings like spaghetti and that nobody knows it, but in the movie they show that, because just in theory, because it's something that could be possible, or it's just a beautiful story. Like I've heard lots of stories and religions that are so beautiful, but it doesn't follow any documents, or doctrines. But people sometimes bite on the beauty of it before even looking at the facts. But I believe absolutely that is our problem. That little, what we don't know, what they're not telling us. So when you see a UFO, look at a UFO. It could be that it's not a UFO or is, but only the government would know. But I agree with that for sure.
Right, right. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. And that makes us think too. When we look at the sky, sometimes our brains are trying to make patterns, maybe out of nothing, but also maybe trying to create context for something that is yet unknown to us. And so you kind of have to stay open to the possibilities of what you're looking at and use your intuition. But like I said, that's when you see these clouds and you have this weird kind of EBGBs that go with it. Okay, maybe there's something more there that meets the eye, and you really have to slow down and pay
Well,
attention.
yeah, and possibly what we are going to build are the movie type UFOs. That is probably our mentality as to what alien life could be doing, and we're going to try to do that. But you know it. If they back engineered or they found a UFO and they have it at Area 51, or they're back engineering it, that would mean it would be scary, because they would touch on a technology that either humans were thinking of creating or maybe had never even thought of. And what scares me, man, is that I'm sure you too, is they grab all that technology and anti-gravity technology and weaponry technology, all to develop, things for war, arms. That's what they do: nuclear, ballistic heads and warheads and stuff like that. Instead of, I mean, with all the technology that we have, we could really make incredible, beautifully lit cities with waterfalls and kids playing outside. And, I mean, we could make our own heaven here.
Oh man, the Jetsons era, I think, was stolen from us. We could have had that maybe 100 years ago already, with the
Absolutely.
technology available to
We
humans.
got Elon instead of Elroy, but
Yeah, yeah. Let's just finish on this. The concept we're talking about here too. In the mainstream movies, for the love of them, they'll never present the floating UFO as a reality. There's always the concept of, yes, a personnel carrier attached to, in this case, warp nacelles or propulsion system. Like they don't want to show us the anti-gravitic and perhaps thousands of years more advanced technology, which could reflect in those clouds that we're looking at now, and that has nothing to do with warp nacelles or any propulsion mechanisms that
yeah, and the building of those spaceships, what they were talking about, like a spaceship. The ideal of a spaceship, they want to make this spaceship this, like, a fuselage, like a cigar shaped fuselage, but on the end of it they want this round object turning, that's creating the gravity, that's creating the inertia or whatever, so that they're not stuck to the walls inside of the spacecrafts. And I can't help but wonder if they're going to try to create that one day, but is it because they saw a UFO, alien UFO, or that, or you know what, they're trying to imitate planets, the technology of planets and stars and meteors and asteroids. I believe they're trying to integrate that in building a spaceship. They're talking about building an ISS space station on a meteor that will go by every 3 years.
That's cool.
Yeah. And why I got chills, because they said that way, no fuel, 24/7 eyes everywhere, and they can leave stuff all over the place. Drop a probe, we're going by Jupiter. Didn't even lift a finger. He's just flying by, same speed all the time. But Jupiter's coming by, Venus is coming by. A lot of people have a hard time understanding that. What do you mean Venus coming by? Well, look at Venus right now in the sky. That looks so friggin' close.
Yeah,
it is close, and that's why they have launch windows, right?
I just was last month the closest for Venus. I think there was a date. I think it was last month.
I think so.
It was the brightest. Yeah.
And they have these launch windows, right? So launch window to be able to go to the moon. Sometimes it's, we can go the 16th or the 29th or the 17th of the next month, because they have to wait till the moon's close and aligned with Earth. So they do the same for like Mars. Mars, if they want to go right now to Mars when it's not aligned with us, it would take them 13, 14 years more. The way they're talking, they'd never make it. They wait till, but a meteor ISS space station would be perfect. Hey, aliens would buzz by them and they wouldn't stop on every meteor. I would put up a sign though on the meteor. This is not like, there's kids in the car. Do not attack this meteor for research reasons only. There are no humans on this meteor. Basically what they're doing with the moon, I think.
Speaking of non-humans or humans that are acting like not humans, did you see this clip earlier this week of Biden scratching his head? And you can see, let me see if I can play this for you guys here too, because I wanted to talk to you about this. I know it's not ET or moon related, but it kind of is in a way. Let's see.
Him and the vice president both look like they have friggin' masks.
Oh my gosh, that's a
mask. I just laughed like Bart Simpson. Sorry. That is incredible. It's obviously a mask. It has to be a mask. It's funny. You can buy have you seen them? The Chinese or Japanese face masks?
No.
You can buy a mask. We got to get ourselves one to show people. It's the freakiest thing. It's a mask to go online to hide your identity. You put other skin on your face. It's expensive, a couple of hundreds of dollars, but there's no difference. You're Asian, black, any color you want.
Like, dude, 20 years ago, this was in Mission Impossible. Remember where they're making this digital mask? And
it really was.
It really was. So if that was on TV 20 years ago, the CIA and they probably had that 40 years before.
Yeah. And isn't that scary though? That instead of using AI to pretend Biden's speaking, they actually dress him up in a suit. Like who's under that? ET? Or aliens?
You must be psychic. I was going to bring up the Edgar suit. So in this particular, I think this is the first Men in Black of the series. This ET comes down to Earth, this bug, and of course his ship lands on this particular guy, Edgar. So the ET wraps himself up with this Edgar suit, and he goes on to terrorize New York and all that. When I saw the Biden mask, it kind of reminded me, like, who the fuck's behind it? Is it a human, or is there something else going on? Like,
hey, it's great. Well, that's why I said, who says there's not little people on the moon putting on frigging gray alien suits? I would participate if I was a small person to do that. I mean, literally just saying that, walking around like, oh my God, they're coming out of the craters. Imagine how crazy that would be. And you know what? I believe, well, it's not crazy for me. Maybe I'm nuts, but they're so intelligent, the aliens, that we're so arrogant as humans saying that is such a stupid ideal. It's not going to happen. Let's do it. Let's do that. If humans will not ever guess that, I have a tendency of thinking maybe that's how they're going to go do things, So are aliens trans people? Next stream. We'll talk about that later.
Again, dude, like just to put it in context, the obfuscation, like you just said, little people wearing gray suits to skew our vision or to create a false narrative. Exactly. We've been doing that on the planet forever, including in World War II with these rubber tanks, right? They were trying to.
I love that one. I brought that up, and you're the only other person that I heard bring that up. Fake tanks, right? For those that don't know it.
Yeah.
And it literally, from far, it looks like Navy ships, and it looks like they would say, "Wait a minute, there's not supposed to be tanks there. That means there must be hundreds of them." And they'll go around. Because I saw one of the videos, Jean-Claude, you probably see it. At the end of the shooting and fighting, the guy goes up and just stands on it and rolls it up like a friggin' pool, a kid's pool. I was like, oh my God.
It's crazy stuff, man. It's crazy stuff. You never know what we're looking at, and of course, the media is complicit in a lot of this stuff. Next up here, too, somebody posted this earlier this week. Robert Seffer, he's really cool. He does a lot of great work. Anthropologist. I don't know if you've seen his channel before. I'll try to get him on here.
I haven't.
He does a lot of amazing work. In this particular case, he's talking about Jack Parsons, the rocket engineer. There's also a book, I have it on the shelf here, called Sex and Rockets, where Parsons and some of his group were attached to the OTO, and I think also what was the other one? One of the Church of Satans, whatever, in California, right. And they were doing these ceremonies, sexual ceremonies, to conjure up these ETs in order to obtain plans ideas, perspectives on how to build rockets, and anyway.
So they're all doing that. So why do you think they blocked off spirituality and witches and spells back in the? I didn't want to cut you off, but it's true. That's what they probably blocked that off. Warlocks and everything. Warlocks, remember, used to tie their thumbs and their fingers so that they could put their fingers together to cause a spell on people, And in my head, I was like, wow, we were so lame back in the days. They thought people were witchcrafts, and so maybe they were. Maybe some people do have sorcery powers. If someone is blessed by God to have a certain power, I think it's pretty cool. But if someone develops through Satanism or evil energy to try to get a certain power, that's very dark, and that's what the elites are doing.
Well, that's what they're doing. Of course, they're preventing everybody else from doing it. They're demonizing the astrologers, the tarot readers, and all that. Yet, if you look back in history, the Vril Society, these were a group of women who grew their hair long almost to their feet, who were channeling entities allegedly from the Aldebaran star system, and these were infiltrated or asked into the Nazi group, the space program, the Nazi space program here, to help create those first technologies, the Hanebu craft and all that stuff. So I'm totally with you on that.
Did Hitler meet him? Did Hitler meet an alien? There's an image online of Hitler shaking hands with a gray alien, and it's maddening seeing that. Even before artificial intelligence, I could make taking a video of nature. There's a wire in the way. Without using a program, I'd take off the wire, and I would manipulate the image like anyone can do with moon images too. I could be completely manipulating things. People have to use common sense, how cameras work. Yeah, that image, and
I'm not sure that's a gray, or is that what they call a tall white?
I think you're right. Yeah, it could be a tall white.
Yeah.
Wow. Tall white? They ain't friggin'. I mean, when you look at that, it sort of makes sense. I wouldn't see them as being too different. The aliens, just different muscular system, organs placed differently. Like maybe its stomach is more on its side, its heart could be more close to its spleen. We can't be all that different. I do believe they've contacted humans, but honestly, if that alien would have contacted Hitler, I'm pretty sure that instead of shaking his hands, you would have seen him with a gun, basically trying to destroy him. But do they make aliens pass off to be more intelligent than they actually are?
Well,
are we the ones?
It's not because they're alien that they're enlightened. You know what I mean?
Class 1, we're not even a class 1 type civilization. We're working on becoming a class 1 type civilization. If aliens are class 1, we would be able to keep the energy from the sun. We'd be able to use the magnetism of Earth. We're not there. We don't even know what's in the Earth. We don't even know what magnetism is. And they declared last year that gravity was a wave. So, we're not really advanced there.
Look at the hair, man. Isn't that crazy?
That is nuts. I bet you not everyone in the world could actually get their hair to grow that long, and that would be a lifetime length of hair. Like you probably grow your hair.
It makes you think about the 70s and that whole attack on the peace and love culture, the hippies with the long hair. Is it possible that the hair are really acting as antenna on the human body, and that we have a higher connection to source when we have more hair? That's why this whole thing, get a haircut and get a real job. You know what I mean? They don't want us to have long hair.
And get a real job. Yeah, I'm totally with you on that one. Okay, I like giving good examples from what you said. Egyptians, they had earrings. They had a lot of rings and stuff like that. But it came out. It was not for, awesome. Hi, Dower. It was not for beauty. They say that it was to reach the pineal gland. The gods, they had clips of gold.
So the gold was to attune to a specific frequency. The crystal here was to bring light through that same channel to the pineal gland to channel even faster, higher, and a stronger connection with source.
And they did often have long hair, and maybe the hair was held up in there. Look at religion. Some beautiful religions is I don't know which religion. The religion that they have a turban and you have all the hair that they don't shave, that they keep on. Why would people do that? It's not for beauty. They're hiding the hair. There's something to it. Keeping your beard, keeping your hair. I do believe that. Look at a cat's whiskers. It might be stupid examples. You cut a cat's whiskers off because they were too long. I heard somebody say, "What?" That's like you're cutting off somebody's sensories. It's like cutting off a bat's antennas. You can't do that. And they have a hard time
circumcision. You just don't do that to young babies, okay?
Yeah, you just don't cut up babies.
Oh my God! Mr. Boatsy almost got us in trouble yesterday. Then I realized, okay, we're still in Rumble, but he talked about how some priests suck the blood after circumcision, all these weird ceremonies and all that, and
some religions suck tongues.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me started, Bruce. You're gonna get me in trouble. Yes, we did speak about that in the show last night. But going back to your idea of the mummies here, man, dude, these guys had red hair. they had European descent. This too was just
That is crazy.
a couple of days ago. So everything is not like what we think. Everything we're told, we have to.
They
take
lied
with
a lot. It's
Yeah.
true, eh? A
Yeah.
bunch of redheads were in Egypt. It's like, what the hell? You know,
What
you
the
think of it?
hell? And then we hear that Quetzalcoatl, I think, also had red hair, had a big beard. So even in Latin America, so we have this kind of a theme here of fair-skinned people with red hair taking up
Hey.
these huge positions of power
Some
and spikes in technology throughout our history. So
Some incredible African tribes. They smash and crush up a certain flower, or is it a rock or stone with red dye, and they put that in their hair and they put that on their bodies. You know, I believe all the tribes and all the religions today, modern or not, primitive or not, it's all based on a god. It's all based on a higher being. And
Mhm.
the higher beings from those tribes and the higher beings from us, like from Jesus Christ to anything, there's a lot of similarities. A
Mhm.
lot of similarities in all religions. Like, you know, uh, a color represents certain things too. It's very big in religion. You see the red, the yellow, you know,
Mhm.
often the Google colors. It's so corrupt. You know,
Oh, Bruce. Hey,
today,
let's go
yeah,
back
go
to
ahead.
your videos here for a second. This one is dated. Which one is dated? Oh, about 3 weeks ago. So after you and I spoke last, what are we looking at in this one?
Okay, those on the surface are what NASA calls craters. What everyone says that those are craters. There's an arrow pointing to a very symmetrical, curved line, round line, because something was laid out that goes around the bottom of that structure. And the bottom, when I adjusted the exposure by bringing it down, that's it. Putting a green, this is a negative image. It's a conversion
Mhm.
negative. You could see that the bottom black part is a base of what's on top, and it's not a shadow. It's actually material. It's dark material, always beside a bright material. And when they're together, it's often hard to understand with the eyes what's going on. But I noticed those lines going to and around some of the structures. And this one here, it doesn't look like much, but for me, it was much. You could literally see that there was a line going around the structure.
Yeah.
Look at those
And-
connection lines, you know. I
and
got
what's
this
this
about
here?
got this 3 years ago. This is in sinus iridum. You know, at the beginning, you showed Bianchini, the
Yeah.
connections. That is just at the left side of the apple bite. Okay, which
Right.
is, and if you look it up, it's like 1,500 or I don't know how many, 4,000 kilometers squared. It's ginormous sinus iridum. That, what I just showed you, is exactly the promontorium B at the end of sinus iridum. That
Let me go
anybody
back
knows.
here. Where on the map are we here?
Okay, so
The apple is
an
here.
upside down U shape is sinus iridum. Right now, you're at Bianchini on the right, and you just saw on the left at the end. So at the two ends of that U-shaped sinus iridum that you see curved over,
Yeah.
it's right there, right
Okay.
there, the apple bite.
Okay. Wow. Wow.
And the lines, you could clearly see, okay, the structure top, middle, way up where you see there's something over it. It literally looks like some type of a boot or whatever. Something was put over something, or it's literally something built. But you'll see, yeah, there's a gap there, a hole. You see the connections where they overlap each other. But
Mhm.
on the left there, the one on the left there, it's just absolutely crazy.
Sorry.
Incredible and crazy. That's a new word. It's
Yeah.
absolutely incredible that you could see them turning and bending to go reach and meet the structures. There's no craters there, but the promontorium is said to be a structure.
Hmm.
And that is a very strong magnification of the surface. I told John Lear, he didn't believe me. He believed me until I explained to him, John Lear, if you look at that section, you will see all those pieces in any image, but you're going to need a magnifying lens to see it.
Wow.
And like, I wouldn't be able to show this and say it's the promontorium and add one extra piece. If somebody sees one extra piece, it's because it's a lie.
Yeah,
It would
yeah.
have to be the exact objects and pieces that you see there.
Right.
Can you see a bit of the elevation where those objects or squares would be if on the surface? We're talking about 100 feet up there. It's really high up there,
Right.
and that's
Wow.
why we're able to see them at the
Man,
end.
it's too bad he passed away. Can you imagine you and I doing a show with him and going through this stuff and his original, like he had a lot of the original films too and blow up that we could have shown and kind of compare stuff.
Absolutely, yeah,
man.
absolutely. He gave me a good shout out. He talked a lot. He's a
Yeah.
very, very, very tough man to deal with. His fans enjoyed listening to him. I interacted with him on a personal level through email and through telephone, and he's a badass.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
he's I don't mean bad apple. He's a badass. The
Mhm.
guy's a badass. Cigar, guns. You know, he's a CIA. He knew Bob Lazar. You know,
He was an old crusty bastard, I think.
yeah. He called himself an old fart himself. You know.
Yeah.
But he was curious about the moon, and before he died, he wanted to see that. And it's sort of an honor that he was able to meet me a couple of years before he died. He actually found out the truth about the moon, is the way I see it. He
Yeah.
literally found out the truth, not on the golden platter, because I don't have a golden platter. Like when I show a structure, they're like, well, people don't understand. They'll go, well, why is it green?
Mhm.
You know, why don't I see that on the moon like that? Where are the coordinates? You know, a lot of that comes from people unfortunately, because a lot of YouTube channels, people do make fake videos. Unfortunately, there's a lot of manipulation on there.
Yeah. And let's do, so there's 2 more things I want to show. We're 49 minutes in. We're doing good with time. This last one was about 10 days ago, but I know sometimes you kind of recapture stuff you've put back and you
yes. When it's dead, it's dead. Like with the weather, it's been crazy. But hey, my friend, if ever, I don't want to change what you're doing. In the last video, there's discovered footage of STS-48 mission that was scrubbed from the internet that I was able to get a copy of. And you see NASA filming the moon, showing the exact same lights that I filmed floating around the atmosphere. And it's a part at the end of the video. It was a long video, but at the end of the video, you can see it literally, it's footage from the STS-48 mission. Near the end of the video, it was a long enough video.
All the way to the end? Let me just bring it up. Hold on. So I'm halfway through the scroll now. Where do you want me to go?
Okay, go really like 3/4 to the end to see. Right, come back a bit. Right, stay right there.
Okay.
So here's one last week that's going over the moon. You'll see this is what I captured with a P900 outside. It's not a bird. It's some type of debris, is what I believe, and I showed it in a couple of filters. So, yeah, not much, but still, it's not something I get every day. I'm always filming the moon, and birds don't do that. They don't look like that. But there's lots of debris out there flying around out there. You know, this one, boy, I tell you. Hook, line, and sinker for me. I was bit when I saw the UFOs. I explained to people that the lights on the bottom. Okay, here we are. STS-48 mission. It was
just to backtrack here for people who didn't perhaps see our previous episode. This is also one of your captures. You and I did a video on this maybe 6 or 8 months ago, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so we're putting that in comparison now to some of this STS.
Exactly. Quite simply.
Let me bring it up for the audience. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and leave the volume off. Exactly. So what you see there's a light source on the top left. We don't know what it is, but there's going to be an explosion. And watch what happens when there's an explosion. It'll pass by several times. Whoops.
Wow.
There's an explosion. So we saw a movement in all the objects. Every one of them started moving differently. One of them took off. Here's another one, STS-48. Like I show with the infrared, that's in the sky. Notice that you saw clouds in their footage.
Yeah.
They're on the moon. So over the moon. So whatever. And here with the green filter, you literally see a UFO taking off. And those are, and you're going to see, you don't see it right now, but at the complete right at the end of the moon, there's jellyfish-like objects are going to come in, and you're going to see it later on. See there in the green, look at the smoke. It could be NASA. Okay, we're not going to hide it. It could be NASA spaceship. I get it. Even though we never see them smoking like that, you know?
Yeah.
And here, again, just darker to see exactly the movement of what's going on because I was talking, and we're going to see at one point, I'm going to show you the jellyfish. It's coming up. You're going to see on the right side. So this is literally NASA footage. And that's literally always what NASA never shows. They never show that they went to the moon to see stuff. See, they're not even on the moon, and that's in the atmosphere of the moon. You know? So hopefully I won't show this one again. Yes, I will.
I'm going to go to a little bit further out.
Yeah, it's not really far. We're close.
Okay, hold on.
Keep going. There we go.
That.
Yep.
Wow.
And look, another one coming in on the right.
Wow.
So that looks like STS-75 or 85, the tether incident, where they show a tether that got lost in space, and you see the jellyfish-like creatures appear because the tether's there, because they weren't there until the tether appeared. So were they curious? But they looked like they were coming through portals, you know, or holes.
Holy shit! Look at that alien.
Yes, close up. But you know, NASA's getting the same things as what I was literally.
I was referring to the guy behind you right up there.
Oh yes.
Oh my god! Wow, Bruce, man, that's pretty cool, man. I wanted to ask you this too. Yeah. Okay, so again, going back to the War Correspondent show, we're seeing now a transition between the overt or the covert part of the war here against the bad people on the planet to now what seems to be overt. We're seeing all these train derailments, attacks, food processing plants, the war at the banking level right now that just started a couple of weeks ago with these bank runs and all that stuff, the banks eating the other banks, like all this stuff. But that would suggest that if it's heating up here, it might be also heating up in our atmosphere, as above, so below. Now, again, a couple of months ago, you and I had done a video on your capture where it appeared that there was explosions on the moon, like people were shooting at each other. Okay,
right.
In recent times, have you seen anything else similar to that? Have you seen an uptick? Your thoughts on any of this here too? Like, are you expecting to see more? What are your thoughts there?
They're always very hard to find in the footage, and that's all by retrieving the footage. Yep, sitting down. Another batch, like if I do it again in a couple of weeks, I would get another batch of probably some of the exact same findings. When I notice that when I see them in groups. Often that's how I pick them up. I'll see more than one. Looks like there's several objects that are in the atmosphere, but I'm telling you, they're all coming out of those craters and the surface. And when they do, it's up and out. So you don't see it, you know, it's up and out, and that's it. And they take off and they start winding left and right. But you know what fascinates me is when they wind like that left and right. One, are they following the gravity wave? literally using the moon's magnetic. There is no magnetosphere on the moon, they say, but I'm just saying, if there was a magnetosphere, why are they waving left and right? It could be so that the cameras don't pick them up. It was really hard to capture. It definitely was really, really hard to capture. I'm noticing that there's still activity on the moon. It's not easy to find. And the last 6 months, not being able to see the moon, boy, set me back a hell of a lot. A hell of a lot. I still have a lot of videos to look at that are interesting. They've got no attention, literally. Like, I mean, the last time I came here, and thanks to your community, I got some subscribers. So I was very, very happy, Jean-Claude. A couple of hundreds of them. But if I don't come here, I don't get subscribers. Right. And even with big channels that posted it, Planet Snekados, he's got 2 channels, over 1,500,000 subscribers. Talks about my work all the time. And never did it ever change the.
Oh, really?
Yeah, didn't change the viewing at all.
Well, we have an amazing audience here on Beyond Mystic, and they're eager to learn and see new things, and they share this with other people too. So a big thank you to all of you in the audience now.
Yes,
Bruce, let me bring up your website here. Of course, Bruce sees all. I'll bring the link down here in the live chat. But I wanted to ask you, we kind of touched upon this maybe, God, a year ago or 2 years ago. It could have been on my first or second YouTube channel. But this was the equipment you were using at the time. And given the technology that's out there now, perhaps new technologies that are emerging, if money wasn't a concern right now, what would you need? What would you add to the current setup you have now to maybe up your game another notch? What would be on your wish list?
Wish list would obviously probably be a bigger telescope, around 30-inch telescope. And the camera at the back would be a camera where I can have something like 200-300 megapixels. That's going to be a game changer. It's what I'm expecting. It's what I'm going to trying to bring to the channel, and I should. And like you said, whether it be getting a bigger telescope, or they could come out with something that the guy tells me, Bruce, put that on your 14-inch scope and you're going to see everything. The goal is to have enough money to be able to get closer to. It was just so ridiculously expensive for the telescope. I wanted a 20-inch. And honestly, going from the 5-inch to the 14-inch, my God, I was expecting to be a hell of a lot closer. I was expecting to be a lot closer. So I'm still able to see close, better, clearer, and I can zoom in a lot more. That's the big difference. The Nikon D850, you can zoom in thousands of times. You're not going to get any pixelation. It's going to go get a small object that's square, and it's going to bring it up, and it's going to be the small square you saw, the same thing, but a lot closer.
And what about also, I know some guys use this different setup where they concrete a pad and put the legs of the telescope to remove some of the shakiness, or to remove
I'm almost 300 pounds of scope. It doesn't move it on a windy day with the tables turning around. The moon is filmed very, very straight. I gotta
so you don't
it's a big problem for everyone that has a telescope. Is exactly what you said. Shakiness, don't even think of it. You want to get a star, it's not going to be nice. That's why the moon sometimes it really does shake, rarely, but when it shakes, it's because it's really windy. I slow the footage down a little bit, so that when you look at the moon going like this, instead of jumping all over the place. But by slowing down the footage, I was able to see some of that. A little video, if you don't have time this time, it doesn't matter. Whenever I do expect you to see it, like a 1-minute video on oh no, actually, did you see it? Yeah, it's right there. Moon, the 4th one on the first row, moon shadow from a sun. You could even put down the volume if you don't want to hear me talking. That is straight up a short video of them, nice greenery, looking at the surface of the moon. And something happens with the astronaut that I noticed that blew my mind away. It's on a TikTok that's not even talking about the shadow. And watch this. You see the shadow where it's placed, okay? It's placed at sort of the back, elevated, sort of like top right-ish. And then watch what happens. Now, okay, it was sort of still on the right, the shadow. The camera, there's no cut here, even though the trolls were crying, wishing it was. Now he just pans a couple feet. Look where his shadow is.
The opposite direction.
Opposite direction, like, and elongated. So I did the test over a basketball. You go like this: close sun, far sun, close sun, sun under the horizon. You'll get a long shadow. Sun over your head, it's a short shadow. But watch the short. Oh yeah, he falls like a falls, but gets back up so friggin' fast. So it's just twice showing that you see 3 times the shadow changes. And here, we saw it faster, but literally that shadow is changing around as it's moving around. And that reminds me of being in a room. When you're in a room, okay, candle or light, if you go to each of the corners of the room, that's all it takes for you to understand the shadow. You understand really quickly what the shadow is doing at all times based on that light. And for me, that really reminded me, in theory, of a studio light, because studio lights will cause that, in a room.
I'm looking for another video. I posted this. It's so there's so much news coming up every day that my scroll is longer and longer. But I posted
it's crazy. It's incredible.
Where they showed some of these exact clips you're showing me overlaid with a studio version of that, with them holding with the pins and all of that. I was like, okay.
Oh yeah, and even the string. I don't even know where that is, JC. You got the strings holding them up as they fall down. They come back up.
Yeah.
It's like a nylon string where they spray something on it to take away the reflectivity off of it.
I'm trying to look for it in my feed. What I could do though for the next show, I can try to pull it up before the show, and because it's further in my stream. And earlier this week too, there was another video of a space station crew talking, and there was a glass of water just on the corner of the table that everybody forgot. Like, oh, for fuck's sake.
The water should be completely out of the glass.
Exactly.
All stuck together in a ball,
Somebody told me, oh, well, maybe they have a Velcro underneath the glass. I said, yeah, that accounts for the glass, but not for the water inside the glass.
Hey, absolutely. When they went to the moon, they said, let's turn on the heater, Buzz. Or Buzz said, Neil, turn on the heater. It's getting cold in here. They were just leaving Earth. So when they landed on the surface of the moon, if they landed, I believe they did, but not how they showed us. Let's say they did land on the moon. If they landed on the moon, it was 29 degrees Celsius. They had suits that had no air conditioning in it. How the hell can they be in the hot sun for 4 hours, digging and falling and getting back up? I mean, you'd think they would completely suffocate. And even the camera that they used was a German camera, the Bifurcal. I don't remember what the name is, but it was absolutely impossible for them to get images of the moon like that. And he changes his film on the moon's surface, and you should put another film inside. The radiation would have destroyed every image. So there's lots that they made no sense.
Oh my god. Okay, let me see. I had what are we? 10 minutes? No, 102. Okay, let's do this last segment, Bruce, and I'll bring the moon thing for the next show and the space station bloopers again, because it's just hilarious. I think you and I talked about the hairspray too on women. It's just like,
they sit there like that. The reason why we leave our hands here is because it's more comfortable with the anti-gravity. Oh my god, it's so hilarious to say it.
Antarctica, Bruce. There's a Cliff High in his Webpod data reports a number of years ago. I started picking up the fact that, or predictive linguistics, that eventually we would be having a big conversation about what's in Antarctica, what's been hidden there, and perhaps how that relates to our history as humans. And more now we're seeing on you. This is one example. I'll just play this in the background without the song here, without the music there. But we're seeing more and more examples of these expeditions, pictures coming out. I don't know if these are fake or not, but it's just for the conversation.
They appear in 2000s, right? Like they're just starting to come out. Those weren't there at the beginning of 2000s. Like,
yeah.
Maybe they're divulging, or
that's what I mean. And so, what's your take? Like, first of all, when you have a good night, do you sometimes point at the poles? Because when I had Jay Widener on, he explained that because of the Van Allen belts, if we were to have a spaceport here on the planet, we would probably put them on the poles so that we can kind of escape without going through the
100% would be at the poles. He's right about that.
Right. So when you use your telescope, is there a way for you, like, is that something in your tactic right now where you're looking at the poles sometimes to see if anything is coming in or out of our atmosphere?
Well, as for the poles for Earth, no, but on the moon, that's definitely what I'm doing, But that is something interesting too. I could also look into trying to, there's some gadgets we can buy, I assume, to I want to start doing some type of reading, with the moon. If there's anything on a telescope that we can read on the moon, sometimes they say the temperatures or certain things with, it would be interesting,
Mm-hmm.
But listen, where the Van Allen belts are, that the radiation comes in from the sun at the poles because there's 2 holes there. So radiation could come in. It's funny that everything that's hitting Earth is hitting the sides of it, not the poles. It's like, it's weird. It's like, why isn't there anything happening coming in from the poles? And magnetosphere breaks the meteors and asteroids. It stops helium-3 in the solar winds from reaching Earth. But how come some things still get in? You got to wonder that, an asteroid in lower Earth orbit, really?
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't burn up.
Mm-hmm.
A small asteroid didn't burn up. It's in lower Earth orbit. So some of those are maybe not from.
That's outside. Where we cue the 1990s song, "Things That Make You Go."
Yeah, remember that? Oh yeah, I remember it, and I stayed on those songs. I stopped listening to music after that, basically, because the music is getting weird now. Nowadays, I sat down the other day, just real quickly, off subject.
Did you know Metallica is going to Montreal?
Are you serious?
In August.
Really?
Yeah. And also Guns N' Roses, a week apart. I think Guns N' Roses is au Parc Drapeau. It's like an outdoor thing, and Guns N' Roses is at the Olympic Stadium.
Jeez, I thought they were done.
Yeah, they're doing this weird kind of last tour or something like that.
He's still screaming.
And the one in Montreal is 2 nights. They're playing 2 different nights. So they have intro bands on the Friday and the Saturday, and then they're playing. So like they have so much music. It's so they're making like a whole weekend.
Who's going to destroy that concert?
Yeah,
I wonder. So scary now. Just talking about going to concerts, you're like, oh shit, I'm gonna get shot up. it's getting scary. You know, it's like things are out of this world, out of control. Those leaks they're talking about, there's a lot of leaks with Canada. Eh? They're not saying what it is, but it's all about Canada.
There's weird shit coming up here too. Hey Bruce, in the last couple of minutes here, I asked you earlier what was on your wish list. I brought up your picture here. How can people support you here on my event? I'll bring the link down here. I know this link is in the description of all of your videos, but this is where people, if they wish to support you in your work and want to help you up your game here, can donate for you in terms of the equipment that you want to buy and add to your production list here. Explain that to the audience, maybe. How does this work?
Yeah, but that is what's paying for the cost of everything, which is not money that I went and dipped into. But people support me through Patreon. It's like $3 a month to support me, and you get an extra video or two there a month. But the idea is that the people on Patreon are contacting me. They can talk to me freely without having to wish for me to, like you, answer an email once in a while, because I'm sort of harder to reach than the president. When somebody told me that, I said, it's time.
You are?
Yeah.
I need your phone number. Do you have a cell?
No cell, but I have a regular phone number. I will email you that number the minute I get off here, my home number.
Yeah, that way I can call you, make sure that you get my emails and we can reschedule. Or actually, before we go offline, well, we can say bye to folks here and then stay on the video for 2 seconds. Sure. Pick the next date and the time, and then we'll log in.
Yeah. I'll stick around and I'll give you the number at the same time.
Okay, cool. Okay, so Patreon, they're looking for Bruce. He's all there, or you have a weird number kind of account. How do I find you on Patreon again?
Patreon. Well, either you click on in the cover image, it's right there. All the videos have the Patreon link. It's a Bruce Swartz Astronomy. What is it called?
Oh, there you go. I have it. There you go. This one here.
There we go. Yeah, Bruce sees all astronomy research.
Okay.
That's where you go to get the. If you want to support the channel, people often support me through the super chats and stuff. It's greatly appreciated when they can. You know, Christmas comes by, they give $1 or $2, and it supports the channels.
And in terms of equipment, the next best thing here at a relatively low cost that you would like to add, what is it? Do you want to do more infrared? Do you want to do more?
I'm looking at more infrared, and at the same time, like very soon, I'm getting a drone. You know how I get an infrared drone. You know how I get some of the UFOs come down in the sky close to me? Yeah. If I was able to send a drone up to it and literally approach it and go through it to prove that it's just a light or something, that would be interesting. Yeah. And I'd have the chance to look at the biological lab here in the back where the UFOs are coming out. I went for a walk. I'm not going in the woods there. I went, and it creeps me out. I'm way over 200 pounds, but it still creeps me out walking down there because it's between the US and Canada. It's no man's land. You walk in that friggin' forest, you hear the dogs barking. And I said, no, there's something not right about that. It's an area that has nothing to do with where we are here. Yeah. It's not an area that's illegal to go to, but it's an area where nobody goes to. But it lines up all the hydro towers. Yeah. UFOs are lifting up off of there. And it goes to an Indian reservation. Mm-hmm. Leads right to an Indian reservation and Les Douanes. It goes across to the States also. So,
well, and what kind of drone would you use? What kind do you want to buy?
Hey, I am no drone professional at all. I looked at the prices. 1 to 3,000, not as much fun as the 3 to 6,000, and then the 10,000. I mean, you could literally have the satellite. They tell you the temperature. It tells you where you are. It shows you the highways and everything. I don't really need that, and that's like $10,000. But
I'll put you in contact with my buddy Joe, the guy with the white toque here. We do treasure hunting, and he's a pro with all these drones. He's a helicopter pilot too. But the last one he bought too has temperature readings, and so for treasure hunting, that's very useful to us. If we see shafts coming out of the mountains, we'll see them as colder than
some of these. Some of them go 30, 40 kilometers away. Yeah. Some of these drones are incredible. They're absolutely incredible. Some of the drones, you know, a 4K or 8K now. They're talking 12K drones.
But I think his last one is 8K, and he's got the infrared, and he also has another sensor gauge on that too. I forget what it's called. But yeah, man, the technology is getting better and better, and the things you can pick up on that is absolutely cool. So guys, check it out at my event. /Bruce sees all if you want to chip in for Bruce there, or you can support him, of course, on Patreon or on Super Chat on his channel. I'll bring that back up here. It's Bruce sees all here on YouTube. Let's go back to his main channel. Bruce, anything coming up? Are you doing interviews or doing something new on the website coming here soon that you want people to see?
If you've heard of Jeff Benoit Live. Jeff Benoit Live, he did some radio. This guy's was into radio. He was even into politics. Jeff Benoit, he's English and French. He knows some of the people that I had the interview with. I don't know if you know Zone Parallèle, Carole Lozé. 96.9 FM at Lévis, Québec. They're real radio animateur, animatrice, Steve Z. So Jeff Benoit knows a lot about planes. He knows a lot about what he's researching in space. Also, we have a lot of good conversations. But I have today, actually at 8 o'clock this evening, for those that are curious, I have a live stream with Jeff Benoit Live. I'm going to be presenting him. I knew him in French, but he actually speaks English. And of course,
you're doing that on the YouTube channel here?
Yeah, right on the YouTube channel.
As a live stream? When is that again?
At 8 o'clock tonight, Eastern.
You haven't posted the poster here yet, right? Because I don't see it.
No.
Okay, so you're going to go live
No,
tonight.
I can't. I'm glitched. When I do a live stream, I can only go on. I can't post ahead of time. It's broken. I
Really?
can't post. I can't send people links ahead and start like a
You should
StreamYard.
just download StreamYard. I'll show you how to use that. It's
I
much
use-
easier than using the.
That's what I use, StreamYard. I pay almost $40 a month.
Yeah, that's what it costs. Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
and it goes super well. But YouTube glitches me when I use StreamYard. I can't see who's a mod. I can't see who.
Oh, that's true. The telemetry of the mods don't come through on
No,
StreamYard.
there's
That's
lots of
annoying.
stuff that is glitched. But on top of my channel being glitched, I mean, it's ridiculous. Half the time.
Well, I
there's
think we can be honest that you've had some interference.
always-
Probably because you're just over the target there, Bruce.
yeah, over the target. Now they're coming down to the house to have beers. The UFO drivers, right? That's what's gonna happen.
Well, next time you have a beer with an ET, take a picture. We'll talk about that in the next show.
Absolutely, they don't drink Budweiser.
Not- no. Fuck, Bruce, you're gonna get me in trouble. Okay, Bruce, stay on the line here after the show. I'm just gonna sign out, and we'll pick another date for the next follow-up show.
Bye, everyone.
Bruce,
Thank you
for
so
being
much.
here.
Thanks for your community.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
guys.
much, everyone, for joining us here today. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next couple of days here. I'm going to take a few days off to spend with the family. In lieu of last week for with the ice storm, I didn't get to do all the family dinners for Easter, so we're doing that this weekend, and I'll be back online on Monday. I love you guys, and we'll see you soon. Au revoir.
Listen, the law of attraction is great, but there's a reason why it doesn't work for most people. Why is that? Because you aren't vibrating highly enough. Does that make sense? Now, look, there's a little secret I have up my sleeve that I use. Every morning, I recite this 20-word script created by a guy named Wesley Virgin. I met him in Miami, and what can I say? This guy is a manifesting powerhouse. Again, it's a 20-word script, and the more you recite this, the higher your vibration becomes. And for anyone listening to this, you can actually get it on our website, and I highly recommend you check it out. You have nothing to lose. Listen, if you feel like the universe is against you, if you feel like everything goes wrong in your life, I want to help you out. I've lived that life, and it doesn't have to be that way. So check out the script. It's available on our website, and be sure to actually test it out. You will be amazed by the results.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Beyond Entertainment. This is the first episode. So excited, and I want to thank you all for watching the last Rumble show with Janine and Jean-Claude. It was beautiful, and with Julie, of course. Thank you all for all your support and your love, and all of the bookings with the readings. I appreciate that very much. So today we're going to look into Marilyn Monroe. And we're going to take a look into several different things from her beginning of her career, and also the famous affair with JFK. So we're going to take a look into that as well. So first, I want to go over a little bit about Marilyn, her very early childhood. She was in an orphanage. She was in 12 foster families as well. So she had a great look into how children were treated. She was unfortunately victim of a lot of abuse in her upbringing, being tossed around to different families. So she did have an inside look at how they were treated, the cabal, the sex trafficking that was involved there in the orphanages, and all of the foster families, unfortunately. So we're going to take a poll. We're going to look into that with the cards. We're also, like I said, we're going to look into the affair with JFK, and also the mysterious death of Marilyn as well. Just before we get into this, I'm going to do a pulse check. And so we're going to do a pulse check and take a look, because Marilyn, before she passed, she was trying to come to the light. She was trying to break free from all the Hollywood cabal stuff, and because of everything that she had witnessed. So let's take a look into that and see what would have happened. How would she have broken out and lived a more simple life and gotten away from all of that? So let's take a pulse check. We've got the Strength card, the Queen of Wands, the Three of Cups, the Ace of Pentacles, and the Page of Cups. So yeah, she was looking for a brand new beginning with that Page of Cups, Ace of Pentacles. She was very, as we know, she was very ambitious. She was always a very hard worker too, and misunderstood, because, you know, a lot of people would judge her and put her down, that she wasn't very intelligent, but she is very intelligent and very ambitious, hardworking. Here's the Queen of Wands. I think that's a perfect card for her. She was also very intuitive, and she was an empath for others. So she was always looking out for others and very helpful towards others, sweet and kind. So it looks to me like she was going to do a lot of work in helping people, humanity. She was going to come to the light and help humanity. Here's the Strength card as well. This is a Leo energy in the tarot, but it's caring for others, it's nurturing, it's helping others feel empowered. So I feel Marilyn would have used her experiences, her life experiences, to help others as well. So I feel she would have been a light worker if she had broken free and had not been taken out by the cabal. Now that's what I'm thinking, but we will check on that. We'll have some cards pulled on that as well. So first, let's back it up and go to, let's look into her early childhood, what she may have witnessed in the orphanage and with the 12 foster parents that she was tossed around with. So let's take a look. Let's take a look about that. Was Marilyn truly attempting to break free from the chains of the cabal? Was she going to expose what she had witnessed with the children? Let's take a look. Eight of Wands, which is communication. We also have the Hierophant, the Fool card, the Seven of Cups, and the Temperance card in reverse. So yes, this is communication. We do have the Hierophant. The Hierophant is a lot of knowledge. So yeah, she gathered a lot of knowledge, had a ton of information. As a child, I'm sensing that at first, because she was so young, she just thought that that's how it was. That's how parents, you know, the way that she was treated. Unfortunately, I feel she went through a lot of abuse and control. And you've got the Fool card. So this is her character as a child. She was very much a go-getter and always wanting to start things, you know, and learn. She was a good learner. So she was very much wanting to expand on what she knows. And then here's the Seven of Cups and the Temperance in reverse. So I feel like this Temperance in reverse is kind of a silencer. So she had a lot of control put over her through her career, because they were aware, the cabal was aware, Hollywood was aware of all the knowledge she had about the sex trafficking, the child trafficking in orphanages, foster families, because she was a part of that. She was victim to that. So, and they knew it. So this right here, Temperance in reverse, I feel she was silenced. They had something held over her so that she would not reveal the information that she knew, the stories that she had. So, wow, it's pretty dark, pretty deep, but, you know, I'm not surprised because there's a lot of corruption in that area. Now let's also take a look. We're going to take a look into the JFK affair, the very famous affair. So let's ask, did the cabal take Marilyn's life so she couldn't voice everything that she knew? Because we know that she had heard about the American intelligence information. So did the cabal take Marilyn's life? Let's take a look. Eight of Cups, King of Pentacles, Two of Pentacles, Ace of Cups, and the Empress, and the Three of Wands. Now the Empress is coming through, and this one I didn't see coming. Now the Empress can represent pregnancy, you know, motherhood, being born again. So also, or a restart, reinventing herself. So I feel that could have been two things. I do feel it's possible she became pregnant before her her murder, because this is showing me that she was taken out by the cabal. So yes, there was a whole plan here. So I do feel she was pregnant, as well as knowing all that information they did not want leaked. They did not want her to leak that American intelligence information that she had. So that she had overheard from someone here, King of Pentacles, JFK, I do feel, as well as others, you know. She had to, unfortunately, most actresses back then, and probably now, they would have to sleep their way to the top or have no career. So I feel she learned a lot of information from a lot of different men that she had to partner up with. So let's take a look. Let's take a look into the mysterious story that they had told on how she passed. They said that she had passed due to overdose on sleeping pills. So now, why is that always the theme? Why is that Hollywood's theme when they say that someone has passed away? Oh, it's suicide. They just rule it as that. So let's take a look. Let's take a look on how the cabal had taken her out. Let's take a look. Two of Wands, Page of Pentacles, Ten of Cups in reverse. The Devil card has shown up. We've got the Six of Pentacles, the Eight of Swords, Ten of Pentacles in reverse, Seven of Wands, and the Star card in reverse as the outcome. So this is pretty direct here. So we've got the Two of Wands and the Page of Pentacles. I do feel that they tried to get her to leave the area when I feel they were tipped off that she was going to reveal information. So I feel they did attempt to take her out and get her out of the area or off out of the state or whatever. And then we have the Ten of Cups in reverse. So this is very much how Marilyn felt, because we do know that she had always wanted a simple life. She wanted a family of her own, a child of her own, suffered many miscarriages. Ten of Cups being in reverse, she never, unfortunately, had that opportunity that we're aware of. So children she did not have, to our knowledge, but we're going to get into that too. But yes, so Ten of Cups in reverse. So she didn't get that happy life. Then we have the Devil card here, Six of Pentacles. So it looks to me like they did try to threaten her and control her. We do have the Eight of Swords here. So lots of control, trying to hold things over her head so she would not speak. I don't think that they are satisfied with that. Holding some control over her wasn't enough. So yeah, it looks like she was attacked. This is a defensive energy here, the Seven of Wands. So very defensive, trying to fight back. I do feel that they had come and they had attacked her in her home. It was not a suicide. We have the Star card in reverse. So unfortunately, that means, that means it was the end for her. But it was not a suicide. She didn't do it herself. This was definitely an attack. So we've gotten to the bottom of that one. And then let's also take a look. So we looked into the affair. We looked into the wrongful death. So she didn't die by suicide. Also, we looked into the children and the trafficking through foster families and the orphanage. So also, let's see. Also, she was getting less roles. Oh, yes. And before I forget, Beyond Entertainment, 50% off reboot promo on all courses and workshops. So don't forget, if you're interested, to take advantage of that 50% off. Code is reboot50. So don't forget about that. 3 days only until April 13th. And today is the 13th. So yeah, gotta act on that. That's awesome. Let's check that out. All right. So we're going to take another look into... Now, there's rumors that, and I've heard it from others, a lot of soul tribers out there, there's some rumors going around. I don't know who had brought it forward about General Flynn as a potential, was the son of Marilyn. So we'll look into that. But what I do know about Marilyn is that they had diagnosed her with endometriosis when she was alive. So did she really have endometriosis? We know she suffered many miscarriages, but did they just tell her that? So let's look into that a little bit. And did she have a child? Did she have a secret child? I'll even throw in there the General Flynn thing, and we'll see if he's really her son. But yeah, let's take a look. Did Marilyn have a child? Let's see. Wow. Different deck of cards. 9 of Cups, Ace of Cups. She did. King of Pentacles, and then the Star card. Now, this is telling us yes. Now we're going to do a deep dive, and we're going to take a look with the General Flynn thing. But what I'm feeling when I put these down, because I used a different deck for the JFK spread that we did, right? So he did come through as the King of Pentacles in that deck. We also had gotten the Empress. The Empress showed me that she was possibly pregnant at the time. So I am feeling, especially when I saw these cards, I immediately felt JFK and her possibly had made a child. And I do think that contributed to their motivation to take her out. So let's do a deep dive on this. And let's see. The JFK and Marilyn conceive a child before her death. Wow. Yes. The Sun card. The Sun card does, when you're doing readings for one-on-ones, right? Personal readings. So if this comes through and someone wants to know if there's a baby or if someone's pregnant, this would be a yes. We also have a little baby boy on the card. So yes, this is showing me that. We also have the Knight of Cups. And then we have the 5 of Cups, which means loss. So this tells me, yes, JFK and Marilyn did conceive a child, but he was lost. And I do think it was probably a boy, because we got the Knight of Cups there and the little baby boy on the horse there. So this is loss. And then we also have the 7 of Swords and the 8 of Wands. 8 of Wands, I'm holding this as that communication card, which it is. And then we have the 7 of Swords. So yeah, they were very scared that she would come out with this information, not only the pregnancy, but all the info she had on the intelligence stuff she was overhearing from multiple people, but especially from Mr. President. So there we have it. That is some wild info. So it's showing us here in the cards with that 5 of Cups that the baby was lost. So I'm not going to take a look into the General Flynn thing, because it doesn't make sense. We clearly have just seen that she had lost the baby because they took her out. So we're not going to do that, but I'm going to do an overall spread on Marilyn, because what I want to know is, let's see if we can channel her and kind of get any messages from Marilyn and just see what wants to come through, what other messages would like to come through about all of this, because she was a good soul. She was a good soul, and unfortunately, she got taken in by the cabal. They tried to control her. She was resistant of that because of the dark things that she had seen. So she was trying to break free, but unfortunately, she just knew too much, so they didn't want to keep her alive. Not cool. So yeah, let's see if there's any messages that we can get. Fool card, the 10 of Cups. This is awesome. So this is showing us that she is happy and she's free. That's freedom completely with the Fool card. It's also a new journey. It's very possible that she's going to reincarnate. Maybe she already did. Might look into that if I have time. But yeah, let's see. So this is like a new journey. 10 of Cups, happiness, family. So the beautiful souls, little babies that she did miscarriage, this is making me feel like she's with them, you know. And I do feel that in my heart that, you know, miscarriages, children that are lost, they're waiting for you. They're still there for you when you pass over. So this is telling me that she has freedom, happiness, and she finally has what she's always wanted, which was family and her little babies with her. Then we've got the Temperance card, the Knight of Pentacles, and then the Two of Swords in reverse. So this is fear, anxiety, all those mental troubles that she did have. For her, it must have been very difficult, all the trauma that she lived through. So it took a toll mentally on her. And then this Knight of Pentacles, this is really cool because this could be something that comes through nowadays that we're going to hear from some more facts that are going to come to light, things that are going to be exposed. This should come to light at some point publicly, more so than this, just so that the record could be a little cleaner for Marilyn Monroe, because she was a good soul. She was a humanitarian at heart. But with this Temperance card too, there's the angel. So she's at peace. She's happy. It's a beautiful message here. Little channeled message. But yeah, awesome. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. And here we go. 10% off. Yes. Any reading, your next reading with discount code BeyondMystic at MaisonJupiter.com. Don't forget to go there to book it. But this is awesome. I thank you all for the appointments that you have scheduled. But yeah, you don't want to miss the 10% off. That's awesome. And it's a 1-hour tarot with myself. And then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Beyond Entertainment, Beyond Mystic, Maison Jupiter. So don't forget to do that. If you haven't subscribed already, which I'm sure most of you have, but yeah, don't forget. You don't want to miss any of these great shows that we have coming up. I'm just so blessed and so thankful to be here. Definitely a dream come true. A lot of you if you're from my channel, you probably know how much I've voiced, and my brother, we would voice how much we would love to be on Beyond Mystic. And this is it. I'm living the dream right now. Couldn't have asked for a better gift. That's for sure. Thank you all so much for being here and all of your love and support. I always feel it. And you're all a part of the dream too. So I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much. And you guys have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye.
Les Mills is up before the alarm, sweating out Saturday on Sunday. Les Mills is worth knowing.
We've heard a lot of things about Antarctica, that it's a portal, that there's wonders there that we can only imagine, that there is a very real reason why so many countries agreed not to colonize it and utilize it and claim it. So let's ask for insights and information about Antarctica. What does the universe want us to know about the continent, or what appears to be the continent of Antarctica? Okay, our first card is the Six of Swords. Clarifier card is the Nine of Cups. Then we have the Ten of Cups, Queen of Pentacles. Then we have the Five of Pentacles. Snow in the picture, Antarctica, snow. We have the Devil card, and the Knight of Pentacles. Okay, well, here's what the cards are telling me, and I'll explain why. There's a lot more going on with our Antarctica than we are told. That's kind of like a duh, right? Okay, Antarctica is going to be important. Once cleaned up, it's going to have uses and avenues for the good of all generations and innocent life that we haven't even been hinted at yet. Okay, once it does, we're going to really love what we learn about Antarctica. Okay, absolutely love it. Okay, in the past card, we have the 10 of Cups. Antarctica was never meant to be lied about and kept from us. That technologies and portals and other energy possibilities that are incorporated there was never meant to be kept from us. It was meant for our good. But as with so many things, it's been kept from us. Okay? We've been lied to about it. It was hijacked, derailed, and they tried to divert its use. Present card, we have the Queen of Pentacles. Just reassuring us that Antarctica, the good possibilities of it, the good that can come from it, or it can be utilized for or with, is still secure, absolutely secure, and going to be made available to us. Now, not in the very near future, because in the near future card, we've got, first of all, the 5 of Pentacles, and that's when you willingly bypass some structures and stuff to follow your beliefs and go where you want to go, okay? So there's a fight going on still. I say that because on this side of it, we have the Devil card showing up. So I would say that the cleanup in Antarctica is not done yet. Okay, the removal of they may have closed portals and gates there, but there's some entrenched energy or beings or trapped at this point that are still hoping to stand their ground and keep some territory that's not theirs to keep. Okay, we're getting a reassurance though about the ultimate success of that with the Knight of Pentacles. With the Knight of Pentacles, it's a military card, a stability card, a good planning card, and just no worries. It's not going fast, but it's going to go well type of card. So that's it for the Antarctica question. And that'll be it for today on questions. My voice is getting a little hoarse. And I do appreciate all of you that were here and participating. I have set this session up to have live chat replay. It does take a while for it to show up, but it does. And again, if your question wasn't answered during this live stream, it's possible that I might use that topic for videos out this week. I usually do 4 or 5 that are single topic videos as the week goes on. So, and we'll do this again next week, you know, creation willing, unless there are big changes. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind. And I'm thinking like, you know, sky event, ascension, you know, all of a sudden we're teleporting and telepathic and all that sort of stuff, you know, and trying to get a handle on those skills. That's definitely going to impact our life. So, but as I say, we have to live in the world we have right now currently around us, and we have to interact with that world in a responsible and mature fashion, and know that even though the change, we can't just sit back and go, I'm going to wait for the change, because we're part of the change with our powers of consent and manifestation, and knowing that our job is to grow as spiritual beings. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience, okay? And we have to grow that spirituality of ourselves. And it should be growing in a kind and loving way. And we should be setting aside anger and sarcasm. That's hard. You guys don't think I'm sarcastic, but I've sure got a snarky element to me that I have to just set aside and go, okay, that's not productive, Laura. So we'll try this again next week. If for some reason I need to cancel, I'll give you as much notice as possible. It would be day of, because it would be an event, you know, like what we had today in my family. But I'll give you notice if we have to. And as always, if YouTube doesn't play nice and doesn't allow the live stream to push forward with you able to hear me, etc., I'll quickly start a new one. You know, last week we did it 3 times, and the third one worked great. And thank you so much for everybody being here. It's been I've been glancing at the screen, and I'm seeing lots of names that I know and love. By the way, I want to clear something up. When I'm doing these live streams and chatting with you, please don't think that I am, with body language, indicating a no if I shake my head left and right. I had that happen last week when someone asked about Christian 21. I was trying to see who was in and what the next question might be, so I was reading back and forth. I wasn't saying I support the man and I think he's trying to tell what he thinks is an absolute truth, which I do, okay? I'm not saying I agree with him completely, but I do believe he is trying to bring you truth without ulterior motives, and to him, he's doing the best job he can, and we're all human, okay? But I was watching back and forth, and someone said, you were shaking your head. No, your body language indicated something different than your words. Well, if I'm reading the scroll here, of course I'm going to be going back and forth from looking at the camera to looking here and looking back. So please don't misread body language in that way, okay? Because that was definitely a misread on the person, that part of the person that thought that's what was going on. So thank you, Julie, for being my moderator. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And let's keep those powers in play and practice, okay? Think about what you might have given implied consent for and call it back. Think about the world you want, the structures you want, the health you want, and work to make that happen by manifesting it. Say, I make manifest. Yeah, future generations are going to laugh at these efforts. But again, we're learning from scratch. They're going to be born with the skills we're trying to develop. But just because it's difficult doesn't mean we don't do it. We don't try it. Okay? So work on your consent, revoking it, recalling it when you need to, granting it when it's wise to. Okay? From everything from media to government structures to current events to family situations. Okay? Revoke and recall or grant consent in a very wise and loving way. And then work on your powers of manifestation. Take a little time every day to picture what you want, and then give yourself consent for that to be our future reality. It'll help. It will help. Okay, until next time, love and light, and I wish everyone the very, very best. Do your homework, guys. Consent, manifestation. Bye.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude at BeyondMystic, and welcome to this Thursday evening edition of the Deep Woo. Yes, Manifest Destiny with Meg Moonbeam. Please join me in welcoming her. Of course, you can find her here at maisonjupiter.com. Soon to be on the Academy also. And finally, on Maison Jupiter's YouTube channel, where she just recorded the other day with Julie, the Astro Decode Mercury Retrograde. Meg, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Hello. Very good to be with you again. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been a busy week. As you can see, there's a big production schedule, but I'm still energized and absolutely excited to have this conversation with you here tonight. First of all, before we get into tonight's subject matter, let's go back a slide or two here and talk about the Mercury retrograde. When I posted the adverts for this on Twitter, I'm like, oh shit, it's the retrograde. Damn it. As if things are not hard enough as it stands here in the last couple of weeks and months with all these energies. Of course, we have to throw in a retrograde in all of this. Share that with the audience members very quickly here. What's a retrograde, and when are the dates? What can we expect, and how do we navigate this for our highest good?
For sure, yeah. So it's super important. A retrograde, for those of you who may not know, is when a planet looks like it's moving backwards from our Earth's perspective, but it's actually kind of what we call station. It's like going in a loop in the same place. So really interesting. So it's not in its forward direct motion, which is like moving forward, being able to manifest and it's kind of things working out easily. It's in a backwards motion.
Yeah.
So Mercury is the planet of communication and our mind and contracts and social media and lots of really important things. So it's actually a time to hold off if you can. I know life really gets in the way sometimes and we have to make really important decisions, but it's really a time to do review, reflection, and not so much like buying a new house if possible or making any crazy decisions or having any intense conversations. We want to lay low and we want to know where in our chart the Mercury retrograde is happening in. So that episode that Julie and I did, the Astro Decode episode we did yesterday on the Maison Jupiter YouTube channel, we talked about that. So we went through each of the sun signs, rising signs, and talked about where everybody is going to get affected, depending on your sun and rising sign. And yeah, it's not the end of the world. I like how Julie was speaking very eloquently on it's more like minor inconveniences.
Mhm.
When you think that you've said something a certain way, but then it gets taken completely the wrong way, that can happen more easily. Or buying things that we don't necessarily need, things breaking down, just that kind of communication and technological stuff. So we've got that from April 21st to, I believe, May 14th, and it's going to be exactly during eclipse season.
Yeah, to make things worse.
To make things, just for some fun, just
a little bit more interesting, in case your life was boring. There's two
Yeah.
eclipses. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So this is really like, I'm actually feeling Spirit say, don't take anything personally right now, you guys.
Yeah.
Because we're all processing so much. And the last time JC and I spoke, he said something that really stuck with me, which was that we're all really fucked up. We're all really,
Did I say that?
yeah, that we're all fucked up in different ways. And just in terms of trauma that we've been through the past.
We've all been through the meat grinder.
We've been through the
Each and every
ringer.
one of us. Yeah, exactly.
And some of us are dealing with that a lot better than others.
Mhm.
But I don't think most of us have taken the time to really process that yet. So
Mm.
we're all in a very kind of, I think, sensitive place. And this is a time when we don't want to be taking things personally. People can say things they may not necessarily mean, or just weird communication breakdown is the biggest thing with
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Diana, Toronto is in the house. Hey, let me know if you guys are watching, where you're watching from. I always love to read that during the live introduction part of the show to know who's watching and where they're watching from. Sounds like what JC would say. Yeah, we're all fucked up. Okay. Don't be putting words in my mouth there. Okay, I started a comment already. I thought it was absolutely amazing. Bob says, when I grow up, I'd like to be just like Jean-Claude. I'm only 61, going on 20. Okay. Well, I love the spirit and the energy and the young at heart meaning behind all of that. Bob, thank you so much for joining, and thank you everyone for joining us here tonight. Just going back quickly on the retrograde, was there a specific sign, or maybe more than one specific sign, that might have a little bit more issues with this retrograde than everybody else? And if so, like, who's that, and how could they best manage all of this for themselves?
Yeah, I think maybe Tauruses, people that are Taurus, sun, moon, or rising, which is actually both you and I, JC. So, Taurus rules the comforts of life, the enjoyments of life, the things that feel good, food, music, sensuality, all the enjoyments of life.
Mhm.
And with this being retrograde and an eclipse at the same time, this isn't a stable energy. So those of us that have Taurus placements, that like when we're in comfort and we're in the enjoyments of life, it's going to be, I think, the most challenging for us, being in the sun place.
I didn't expect it to be me. Lisa says, I like it when JC swears. Okay. Illinois, 85 degrees here today. Dude, it was really nice out here today. I actually got a bit of a suntan. As you can see, like, it's beautiful weather. How is it where you're at, Meg?
It's like 30 degrees here in the Toronto area, at one point 31. So nice. It feels like summer.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Finally, after a long winter. Meg, before we get into our main topic for today too, what's the general read right now with your clients? What's coming up in the field with these personal forecasts here on MaisonJupiter.com? Is there a specific theme here in the last week?
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people just wanting, reassurance that they're on the right path, which I feel like I'm saying all the time, but especially in these times where there's so much brainwashing going on, there's so many projections from the Matrix and agents from the Matrix trying to mess with us, like-minded soul family. It's just, I find what I love about the astrology is it's always sharing, usually what people are already feeling or doing.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's a really great reflection to show that you're already in the natural energies. Very rarely is someone super blocked. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. Libby says, Meg Moonbeam, you're looking divinely radiant.
Well,
Wow.
thank you.
Awesome. So, Meg, what did you want us to talk about tonight?
Well, I think we're going to talk about some sexual topics and
are?
the divine feminine and the divine masculine. Tribal Rice says, or no, sorry, Diana B says echo from Meg. Could that be?
I'll mute myself while you go. Keep going
Okay.
with the intro.
Okay. Yeah, so we're feeling to talk about some sensual energies, the masculine, the feminine, what's going on with that. That seems to be a really big theme right now, the polarization and the what I've been feeling, perversion of the masculine and the feminine in the collective.
We just had a show. When was that? Last week? I can't find it right now. Julie and I interviewed Penny Kelly. Here it is. And we were just talking about some of this subject matter and suggesting that perhaps we needed to come back and revisit it. And humans needed to understand really the nature of what is sex as opposed to what we've been taught to believe sex is. So she was saying that we kind of understand this like a very small sliver, but really there's a big spectrum of potentiality with that energy. And for the most part, we've been obfuscated from all of that, from religion, from different points of views or education and all of that. And what she was saying too, well, she actually said this in my first YouTube channel, and it kind of got deleted not long after that. We were going to do a series on Kundalini, the awakening of Kundalini. And she said something to the effect that for humanity to understand the nature of their power as it pertains to Orgone, Ki, Prana, Kundalini is really the last gate to their freedom. So that was very profound. A lot of people were like, wait, what? Really? And she's like, oh yeah, if you only knew what you were talking about. So let's start there, Meg. Well, how do you want to start? Let me put it this way. I'm more than happy to flow with you in any direction here, but let's start on some track here. For some people, of course, it's a little bit of a triggering topic. I'm just going to ask you to be polite, and you might agree, not agree with what we're trying to convey with you this evening, but it's really just an adult conversation, and we're trying to, I guess, understand a little bit better who we are, where we come from, and what we can do with this ultimate power of ours that for the most part has been on lockdown for a long time here in our evolutionary process. With that said, Meg, where do you want to start?
Maybe we can start with, what's going on with the masculine and what's going on with the feminine. And, we're in this point right now, but I feel like the time period we're in right now in modern history is like an experimental phase. I've been hearing that a lot lately, because if you go back even 100 years, the masculine and the feminine was in a extremely different place collectively. And what do we mean by that? The masculine and the feminine. Well, just what are the natural energies that women tend to hold, men tend to hold? And I am speaking in general terms here, but there are some women naturally that are just maybe a little bit more masculine. Like everybody's unique, not everybody's a copycat exactly the same. But we're seeing that, women have been kind of, what's the right word for me to use? I'll say brainwashed to kind of do exactly what men do. That we need to go to work the same way, that we can work the same way, that we should work the same way, that we should be able to be completely independent and not even have a man or a woman, if you're gay, a partner. And that's not the case. Physically, women are built completely differently from men. And we have different roles and gifts and talents on either side, right? So as we know, women are the natural nurturers and caretakers, right? And the males are the natural providers and action-oriented ones, and are physically, actually, scientifically stronger, right? So right now in our modern times, and I know a lot of you guys already know this, but it's just good to start with, like, we're in this time where the women are being brainwashed to be more masculine, and the masculine are being brainwashed to be more feminine, to throw off the whole natural energy of what there should be. Because when we do have healthy relationships, then people have families, then people have babies, then people have strong family units and family values. And if we were all in very strong family units and values, the New World Order wouldn't be able to do what they're doing if we had that in the first place collectively.
Right.
So sex is very important because it's the most powerful force. It's the force of creation, right? It's one of the greatest pleasures in life. Things feel good and it's fun to do, but it also brings children into the world. Magical children. It brings the next generation into the world. So that whole sacredness of it has been perverted into porn and into it's bad and it's demonized and it's not sacred, and it really is.
You talked about keep going, sorry.
No, and I know you've studied that a lot, JC. You're really good at explaining some of those kind of tantric knowledge, for sure.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And maybe we could get into some of that if it pertains to the conversation tonight. But first, I want to backtrack. You just said that on the physical standpoint, women are different than men. I'm like, what are you saying? Are you saying that men can't have babies and they can't produce milk? Because that's not what I'm hearing from mainstream news.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, right.
Oh my goodness.
What's that term? Go woke and go broke. Of course, $6 billion. Is that all? Anheuser-Busch here loses $6 billion in the last 6 days here of market cap with all this transgender agenda here in this Bud Light commercial. It's absolutely crazy. It's worse than what you were saying. Like, I completely agree with everything you said. And then some. So one, somebody was saying in the chat earlier, men have been feminized and females have been pushed towards masculinity. Yes, but here we're talking about a huge distortion. And I think we should talk about this a little bit here tonight. I kind of touched on it yesterday with Ricardo Bossi on the leadership show. And it had something to do with the hijacking of balancing the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Now, just like you described here, the feminist movement really brainwash you guys away from the reality of what women is with all of these. Some of them are really great ideas. I don't get me wrong, in terms of equality of pay, having the right to vote, all these things. We're totally in agreement with that. But in terms of the body itself, what's interesting is that we are seeing now a hijacking of this Age of Aquarius theme of rebalancing the divine feminine and masculine. And we're seeing that here with the transgender agenda. And so that's very concerning because, again, we're thwarting away or preemptively thwarting a conversation, an energy, a rebalancing of the population. If you think about it, 20 years ago, another example of that was when they named a T group, a bad group with bad words. They named them ISIS. Do you remember? So again, we're on YouTube here, so we're going to watch our language. But that very bad group that did really bad things with booms and stuff like that, they were given the name ISIS, right? And so, okay. So just as the divine feminine was coming up, the sisterhood of knowledge of re-empowering women with their power, they kind of hijacked that and preemptively used that name to kind of sully the waters, right? So we're seeing that now here also with this transgender agenda, the same thing, where we're being called as humans to kind of rebalance left brain, right brain, or divine masculine and divine feminine energy so that we're better centered and we're creating from a 0-point energy and thwarting that into all of these very, very confusing memes. Okay. Having said that, what's your first reaction to that? And folks in the live chat too, let us know, like, if you realize just how bad this subversion tactics really are against human, once you kind of see it, you're like, oh my God. No wonder, as Meg said at the beginning of the show, we're all fucked up. Like literally, we've been messed with on every single aspect of our evolution. But Meg, your first reaction to that hijacking of those keywords and energies coming up?
Yeah, I have a few things to say to that. And you're totally right, JC, that it is beyond words how screwed up this is. I mean, can you imagine, you guys, our ancestors, that some of our ancestors fought in the world wars? And I don't know about you guys, but I had ancestors that died in the world wars. What they would think of what's going on right now, like they would be so pissed off. They probably are really, pissed on the other side, I think. And just confused, like it doesn't make sense naturally.
Right.
And, us being in the beginning of the age of Aquarius with Pluto in Aquarius, we're going to see the dark side of Aquarius play out over the next little bit. It's not going to be a very long time, but we're going to see it play out. So we go kind of as a society, okay, yeah, this transhumanism path of having no gender, because that's what this really is all about. And David Icke is really good at talking about that, about how this whole intention, and people that he's talked to that are survivors of the networks and stuff, I've heard the elites talk about how they want to push transgenderism to, confuse us, like some of you guys are saying in the chat. And we're going to see how that's not going to play out well. It's not going to play out for our brothers and sisters that have unfortunately fallen for this and had body parts chopped off that they'll never be able to get back, and really horrible things happen. It's beyond messed up. And I think it does have to do with that Aquarius energy and that dark side of Aquarius, which is transhumanism. I think that that's what the agenda is with this whole thing going on. And when we have the strong women, like even those of us who are like-minded and awake, if you will, this does affect us. Even, if we are more in our feminine or more in our masculine than normies or whatever, if you will. Because for women, for example, what we used to do when we lived in tribes or more natural societies was the women would all eat together, right? The women would do our sacred ceremonies together, and that's what we should be doing. And speaking as a woman, like I saw one of our soul sisters in the chat here say, it's a complete slap in the face to see Dylan Mulvaney making like jokes about tampons, because, and if this is too like graphic or whatever, guys, but we bleed once a month and it's really fucking hard. And some women have it really, really bad, and it's pain the whole time, and your mood gets totally shifted. And we're doing that alone for the most part. And how women should be doing that is in sacred circle and in sacred community with other women. And all of that has been demonized and taken away, and it's hush hush, and we shouldn't talk about it, and it's disgusting, right? It's actually super, super sacred, the women's blood. And I know that's a whole different subject, but these things are sacred and they've been put down, right? And like the men, even though men don't necessarily bleed, they're the ones that are there during the women, not during the women, there for that time during the women, and need to be there for us. It's not easy to have periods. It's not easy to give birth. It's not easy to have a baby on you the first 4 days or whatever it's born. It's a full-time job, right? And it's been a total illusion what's going on. And I'm really happy because I do believe that we are going to get back into a place where we step back into those energies. And it's not negative for women to be feminine. It's actually our superpower. And again, there are some women that are naturally a little bit more masculine and warriors and all that. But for the most part, it's not all women. Like how men, like JC, I'm sure when you're with your guy friends, it's not normal for the most part that most guys are overly feminine. Sure, there are ones that are like that, but it's not most of them, right? Does that make sense how I'm explaining that?
Yeah, it does. And I took some notes. I didn't want to interrupt you. That's very important. The part about the blood and how sacred that is to that time of the month. I'll get back to that later in the show if we have time. And also about the body, the nudity. We need to touch that. But I wanted to come back here too to Isis. Now, let me just bring up a term for you guys here also. Just again, this term of hijacking of these energies, just so you understand where I'm getting at here. So, Julie, Janine, and myself, we produced this episode on Rumble. It was called Pluto the Destroyer. And we're talking about these archetypes and these alignments that we're living now. We've been in them for a couple months, but really that start date here was March 23rd in terms of the exact alignment, the beginning of this. But we were already in those energies for quite some time. Now, the last time we had this alignment was in 1789. And so that led to the storming of the Bastille. It led to the French Revolution. And it led to this term that today is bastardized in many ways, and it's the Mariannes. The Mariannes were the bare-breasted warriors of the French Revolution. And as Jay Weiner reminded us during the last show, the Nostradamus Decode with Julie last week, I think, he said, really, the French Revolution really got started when the women got involved. That's when this whole galvanization of this force, and again, having that divine feminine inspiring the man at that point was so powerful. So let me go to some of the imagery here. So that's burnt into our minds. And right now, we had this video a couple of weeks ago about why perhaps in France, in Quebec, here in Canada, the last couple of years were really, really worse than some other regions around the world in terms of the strategies at play with the thing that was happening on YouTube, right? And so we kind of alluded to the fact that there's this energy of the French Revolution now happening again on this planet, not just in France, of course. We're seeing the fires in France now for over a month, but this idea and this energy is back, and it makes a whole lot of sense now when you look at the astrology of things. Now, what was even more interesting to that, again, I'm just going to tie this back into why I said ISIS for that really bad group in the early 2000s here. Under Notre Dame de Paris, there is an old Isis temple. And so when Notre Dame de Paris burnt, a lot of the psychic seers, the Sisterhood of the Rose, some of these, how do I say it? I'll say secret societies for now, and just to say they're not all bad. Okay, so depending on your point of view, they're not necessarily bad. But they were saying that what was happening was the energies of the temple of Isis was really below the church here, and the church being the, I guess, poster child or the energy or the anchor of the wounded male patriarchy running the show on the planet through the religion, that was being burned away here. Okay, so if you look at the symbology of all that, you can see that all of this energy was coming up. And of course, we were treated to maybe a year later, this imagery again in France, and now more and more at every aspect of the way. The nudity is not necessarily part of it here, but it's the divine feminine in her vulnerability being up front on stage, on the screen, like Meg is doing now, like Julie does on Maison Jupiter, leading the way in this 6G warfare that we find ourselves in. So when you put all of that together and you realize, oh my God, this is why the distortion is so heavy. Well, you just talked about the mockery that these woke agendas are doing, but it's even worse than that. They're really getting at trying to extricate themselves from this energy of Pluto that is very detrimental to them. But in the same time, they're thwarting our natural evolutions, the natural energies that are coming back up in the divine feminine and the divine masculine to find our place in this world. Because in 1789, again, this is when the La Charte des Droits in France was put in place also. Like, we realized that all humans had these rights. And this is very much what is being quashed right now. If you look at whether that's censorship, whether that's political, whether that's the right to be who you are. This is a hard conversation with you. Damn you. Damn you. We've done this on Rumble. You always get me into all these problematic areas and make valuable conversation nonetheless here for YouTube. And let me know, guys, if you agree here with the continuation of this subject matter. But let me ask you this, though, Meg. In the context of this energy of ISIS coming up, the resurrection of the priestess, in some cases, the sacred prostitute. These are also terms that need to be revered and respected in a very big way, and how that's being not just mocked, but also tragically usurped in such a way as to thwart humanity's ability again to assert its freedom. What are your thoughts based on that? Pull in the astrology if you want, pull in your inner guidance, but share with the audience members why understanding that in the bigger picture can give us some clues on how to not just extricate ourselves from this control, but really, really strive for freedom, because that energy is right there before us now. And available to us, really, if we only knew how powerful we were.
Yeah, I got to just shout out friend Troy here, who I haven't seen in years. Hi, Troy. Love you. Sorry. Yeah, with Isis, we used to, and I did lives a part of that priestesshood for sure. And that was a really sacred thing where we used to do, tantric practices to help people be able to do sexuality in a sacred and natural way. And that's something that's been completely demonized and taken away. A lot of that temple work, a lot of that tantric priestesshood, and it's healing energy. And to me, Tantra, and everybody has different feelings on this, but to me, tantric energy is not just sexual, but it's also very creative. So if you're naturally very spiritual or intuitive or even creative, you have a tantric healing energy about you. And some of you guys may have noticed this, that people maybe feel, and this may sound weird for me to say, but very attracted to you when they're around you, or sexual around you, or aroused, because a lot of us have actually been priestesses, priests. We've been tantric workers in past lives, those of us that are light workers, and we know how to use that energy. And we activate people just by being around them. We don't necessarily have to do something overtly sexual or something. It's just an energy that gets activated, if that makes sense, that tantric healing energy. And a lot of us have done that for lifetimes and lifetimes. And with Isis and that priestesshood, that was very much about the divine feminine and the gifts of the divine feminine. And another thing about the feminine that's really interesting is it rules in not just astrology, but natural living. Intuition and spirituality is a feminine energy. So that's why sometimes I see in the comment, JC, you should have more guys on here. Where's the guys? Which, yeah, it'd be nice to have some more guys, a part of the community. But the truth is, women are the ones that are actually more intuitive. And if you've ever been to a spiritual workshop or course, it's mostly women. There's like maybe one dude, or sometimes a few dudes if you're very lucky, right?
I'm always the single dude in a room when I go to retreats, by the way.
Yeah. So we're the ones that are naturally connected to that. It doesn't mean that men can't be. All of you men that are listening out there, like, that's amazing, because you guys have got an active masculine and feminine. So that's absolutely amazing if you're open to spirituality and the woo. But women are way more naturally open to it. And that's a really big, when you're talking about Pluto, the destroyer, right? The dark arts wants to take the women out of their natural energy, because if all the women are not, naturally intuitive, and it doesn't mean you have to be a professional psychic or something like that, but just tapped into the rhythms of the moon, tapped into their tantric, even sexual energy, creative, spiritual energy, that wakes up the whole world, right? If women are not just working all the time or being brainwashed, they have to do what men are doing the whole time. They're in their natural energy of nurturing, of intuition, of being connected to their cycle and nature. And that's the last thing that the dark arts wants.
Oh, so the very last thing. Yeah. Janine talked about that earlier today at the beginning of the War Correspondent Show, if you haven't seen it. We were talking about this energy and how it's so important to be able to actually how more destructive it actually is to the old system. And I wanted to bring up this book by Carrie Cassidy, The Rebel Gene. I did a book review with her 2 years ago, maybe on the first channel, and we were discussing how, similar to what you're saying now, this energy is growing up again inside of us. We're getting closer to remembering who we are, how powerful we actually are. And that was also perhaps one of the attempts that was used in the last 2-3 years to separate us, right? We had this big policy of separation. We could call it that here on YouTube. And that had to do with a scalar effect. And so, as Meg was just saying now, if you're empowered and you're tapped into this energy, we can get into the tantra at some other point, but just being tapped into your own energy, understanding your chi, your prana, your tantien, your battery, your lower battery. If you're tapped into that, you don't need to do anything. We're not even talking about having sex. Just being in presence of other people create this huge scalar effect. And these people know this. They're using technologies. They understand the astrology probably better than us, because some of our astrology has been maybe manipulated to some extent, or some of those things have been left out purposefully here, as they do with the Kabbalah and all these other secret societies. There's always part of it that's open and part of it that's hidden. So they understand what's going on here. So this hijacking and perhaps this attempt to prevent this scalar effect was only a delay in time. As we're seeing it now, it's starting to grow again. So we're seeing it at the 3D level, at the banking level, for example. The reverse repos were showing that there was a huge stress in the financial system just before this particular event happened a couple of years ago. And now that we're moving away from this event, and we still don't have the cover of this event, we're seeing the banking system crash again. So too, on the energetic level, we're seeing the expansion of this energy, not just at the divine feminine energy level, but also at the divine masculine. Going back to what you just said about the importance of the divine feminine, to me, my understanding, for this to really work, and part of this knowledge, you can find it in David Dita's books, The Way of the Superior Man. He's talking about balancing the divine feminine and masculine, but for a lot of the wounded masculines, they really need the divine feminine to step up first. They're the caregivers, they're the ones who give birth to these to babies, right? They have more power to heal that wounded masculine. But once that wounded masculine is healed, then he can step to the plate and hold and honor and cherish the divine feminine as she goes through her cycles, as Megan was talking about now. And this is why, again, all of this distortion is in our field of view. You mentioned porn earlier. Wow. Okay. First of all, thank you again for suggesting this topic matter, because we really need to get into it. Penny Kelly said on the last show too, like we're probably going to do a course on this for the Academy, really get into the details here. Some of this stuff, of course, can be on YouTube. That's how I got my first channel deleted, was talking about this stuff. So I'm a little bit hesitant here tonight. Let's go to the maybe the blood part for just a moment, and not to be gory or anything, but just to go back to what Meg was saying of how absolutely sacred it is. And once you understand how sacred it is, all of this weird stuff, the wokeism, these campaigns that are being used against us, really start to fall flat. Right now, we're so confused. We've been under these subversion tactics for so long, not even recognizing that we don't know heads or tails about anything anymore. But the blood, again, we were talking about this with Jay Weidner on the Nostradamus show. It has to do with alchemy. And so blood, urine, semen, to some extent, second gate and third gate waters, I'll call them waters for this show here, they all contribute to the Philosopher's Stone. So that holds the wand with the Philosopher's Stone, right? So again, understanding the power of that and how absolutely crazy powerful it is. Like Meg said earlier, yeah, it feels good and it's fun and all that, but really it's your most expansive power in terms of you manifesting your destiny. So if you think about it, if you can create a life that's going to go on and create other things, imagine if you use that own energy for yourself to manifest your destiny, as opposed to living like a pinball in a pinball machine here, being, pushed left and right by the matrix of control. That's really why we need to have these conversations. And that's the level of conversation we should all be having, because again, like Penny Kelly said, it's the last gate to our freedom, really.
Super powerful. Wow. Yeah, the blood is something that is very triggering for some people because, first of all, it's blood. And, you know, blood is, you know, comes out of us through either when we cut ourselves for an accident or women for when we bleed. So we do associate it a lot with pain and suffering a lot of ways, just on like a subconscious kind of level. But the blood that women bleed, and this is something that I've heard a lot about and I've looked into, but I feel like there's even more that's going to come out with this in the coming years, more in the mainstream. It's part of our womb space, if you will. It's part of our sacred area where creation is made from. It is so filled with power and nutrients that, you know, there's been studies done that when you put your moon blood on plants or even your own face, I don't know if any of you ladies have ever tried that, or even men, your face glows. You know, you can even drink it. I know that's like very controversial, but it's extremely healing and powerful. And you can do manifestation work. You can manifest your destiny with it. You can do healing work with it. You know, it used to be used for healing. So that does have to do with sex, obviously, because it's the woman and the woman's cycle and the creation process. And all these things are going to be coming back more into how we're going to